are here to conduct a validation workshop on two important curricula. The first has to do with comparative business law. So you know that education is a key for development of a given country in general. So at least here, as nations to our country, we are aspiring, striving to bring about the intended development, not only development, but also sustainable development, because nowadays the time is for sustainable development. Therefore, to bring about the intended sustainable development, education is a key. And business in general is an important instrument to bring about development. Therefore, business should also be regulated by law, and business law is an important key to bring about sustainable development for each and everybody, including the country in general, by the way. Therefore, I can say that the intended, the curriculum which is intended to offer a course on business law has to do at least something to put to forward, at least to contribute for the bringing about of sustainable development in general in the country. In addition to that, the other curriculum has to do with law and criminal justice. Well, particularly from the Ethiopian objective reality point of view, you know that justice is essential. We need justice. We need fair decisions in general, and particularly from the criminal point of view. We lawyers decide upon the rights of everybody. So the property rights and other human rights as well. Therefore, in the absence of human rights, it may also not be possible to bring about the intended sustainable development. And I think it is due to the fact that people, a certain group of people or individuals feel that their rights are violated, and they will be uprising. Therefore, if there is uprising, then you know that it may not be possible to bring about sustainable development. Let's see Ethiopia አሪፍ ምሳሌ የነበሯቸውን ወይም የገነባናቸውን የጅምር ኢንቨስትመንቶች ቢያንስ በከፊል አውድመናቸዋል አይደል? ስለዚህ ክሪሚናል ጀስቲስ የራሱን ስራ መስራት አለበት። ይህ እንዳይሆን it is important to have a course curriculum on law and criminal justice, so that it would be possible to bring about the intended development in general, and I believe that each and everybody would also benefit from the development that will be achieved. Therefore, here, as we can see, the School of Law and Federalism is trying its best to capture the objective reality, at least to assist the implementation of the policies of our government in general, and particularly the objective to bring about sustainable development. Therefore, I would like to kindly request you to actively participate in the session, so that we can contribute in a positive manner, in a positive way, for the development of the curricula, so that it would be possible at least to implement, to translate what is intended by the school in particular, and our university in general. So again, just dear justice, በተለይ ይህንን ለመገምገም የመጣችሁ ባለሙያዎቻችን በድጋሚ ተሳታፊዎችም የእውነት የክርክር ሳይሆን ለእውነት ፖዚቲቭሊ ዴቨሎፕ ለማድረግ በሚመች መልኩ ኮንትሪቢዩት ታደርጋላችሁ እናደርጋለን ብዬ ተስፋ አድርጋለሁ። ስለመጣችሁ በድጋሚ አመሰግናለሁ። ምናልባት በዚሁ ምንድነው የኢኮኖሚ ጥናት ተጀምሯል ማለት ተደግ መሰለኝ እሱን አመስላለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ።
Or institute against the government. So many international and national business disputes are going on. So there is shortage of highly trained business lawyers who can handle international and national disputes. And this was the point that made us to think to work on curriculum that based on comparative business law. The reason for making the curriculum comparative is that because we should have lawyers not only conversant with business law, but business law, global business law, because this is the era of globalization, and we should be able to produce people that can address global issues, global business issues. So we started preparing the curriculum maybe some time like around January, and we have consulted several international and the national business law curriculums, and they finally came up with this one. So one of the justification now will present justification, program justification, is because of globalization and emerging legal complexities that call for specialized training. As you know, our economy is expanding. We are growing. Multiple international foreign direct investment is flowing to the nation. And the government, the national policy also, economic policy also been changing. So many industrial parks, businesses are coming. These all call for what? Trained personnel that can handle issues that may arise from business transactions, be national or international. So rapid economic growth that has been attracting foreign direct investment, also one of the justification for the program. The demand for specialist lawyers that can address the current need in all over the nation. I know we have business lawyers and we offer business law courses undergraduate program, but our lawyers are not confident enough to handle international issues, to present cases before international tribunals, and to defend Ethiopia's interests. So we have to start. We have to do something to fill this gap. So the LLM in business and comparative business law aims to meet the demand for business lawyers with professional competence and skill necessary to render high-level consultant services to traders, companies, investors, and governments. Produce business and investment lawyers who can formulate business policies. Offer high-level training in business law, theories, doctrines, skills necessary to produce business law in transnational courts and tribunals. The exit level outcome is also linked or connect with program objectives. After completing the course, that means after graduation, our graduates are expected to analyze international economic agreements, principles, rules pertaining national and international business entities. To do that, we have consulted, as I told you, or as I said, we have consulted several international business law curriculums international treaties, conventions, and national business law curriculums, and so on. So we expect, we are convinced that the curriculum will enable our graduates to analyze international economic agreements, principles, rules pertaining national and international business entities. Provide consultancy service. Our graduates will be able to provide consultancy service in national and international business issues, litigate cases in national and international tribunals, serve as arbitrators and conciliators, draft regulations, bylaws, contracts of business entities, conduct business and investment research, teach in higher education institutions, contribute to the formulation of business policies and regulations by government. We know there is high demand for business lawyers in private or public, but we are expecting our major employers will be the federal government institutions, regional and the local governments, including city administration and the public enterprises, others, judiciary, consulting firms, higher education institutions, research centers. The admission requirement is just as usual, graduate programs in Ethiopia. Candidates to be admitted to this program should hold the LLP or equivalent law degree. Equivalent law degree, I mean JD, for example, or any other law degree may be admitted. That means should have, at least the candidate should have a law degree. Fulfill admission requirements of the graduate program is just usual, because a candidate cannot be admitted to the university unless he or she fulfills the graduate admission requirements of the university. Pass entrance examination, sorry, pass entrance examination set by the School of Law and Federalism. Entrance exam will be given, and the candidate should pass that. Institutionally sponsored candidates must have a letter of sponsorship. This also in accordance with the university requirement. But we have sufficient, at least minimum sufficient resources available to launch the program. We have so many, at least 5 members of the staff holding PhD, which is directly or indirectly related with business law. And library resources, online resources are available to at least to launch the program now, and additional resources will be also prepared for the future. Staff will be hired, library resources will be also purchased, and online resources also will be subscribed in the future. Even if we don't have sufficient resources currently, we feel that we have to start from somewhere and then develop the program and training. Program duration is 2 years, which is usually true in all higher education in Ethiopia, 2 years program. The 2 years, we are planning to initially start with regular program, and we might have a weekend and extension programs too. The duration of weekend and extension programs might be extended depending upon the nature of the program. And that's it on my part, and the next content-wise will be presented by Dr. Misgano. Thank you so much for the attention. Questions, comments will be entertained in accordance with schedule later.
We'll be presenting generally how we selected the courses and the content of the courses in the curriculum. In fact, maybe in selecting the course, the following were taken into account: the undergraduate program, where there is a modularized undergraduate program where every university is offering similar courses in undergraduate. So the purpose of this master's program is to complement that, or maybe to bring it to the higher level. Also, we have also concerted commercial law related programs in Ethiopian universities so that we cannot repeat. We don't want to repeat, rather we want to add or may come up with a new area. Also in doing so, we also take into account the maximum ECTS. Then maybe the resources utilized to develop the module are maybe materials that we have consulted in selecting or maybe determining the course and its content are commercial law curriculums of some Ethiopian universities like Hawassa University, Haramaya University, Oromia State University, Ambo University, Debre Birhan University, and Addis Ababa University were consulted. We also consulted brochures of foreign universities in commercial law, in international business law, and also in areas like construction if there are courses that we need to add. Literatures also reviewed concerning the purpose of the curriculum and also why we need to design a course in a certain manner. We also utilized our own personal experience. We discussed with the staff members on the issue. Well, normally the course structuring 120 ECTS, semester based 30 ECTS, 4 semesters divided into 2 years. Totally 16 modules or courses are here. Then the following are major courses. Now the courses are advanced legal research methodology, theories of business regulation, comparative investment law, international trade, monetary and development law, comparative company law, comparative bankruptcy law, financial and security regulation, competition and consumer protection law, comparative and international business taxation, international business transaction law, franchising and intellectual property licensing, comparative and international public procurement law, commercial dispute settlement, then the LLM thesis divided into 2 or having 2 parts, module 1 and module 2, and the research seminars. Semester-based classification is like as follows. In the first semester, advanced legal research methodology, theories of business regulation, international trade, monetary and development law, comparative investment law would be the first semester courses. In the second semester, first year, comparative company law, comparative bankruptcy law, financial and security regulation law, competition and consumer protection, comparative international business taxation would be in the second semester. Second year, first semester, international business transaction law, franchising and intellectual property licensing, comparative and international public procurement law, commercial dispute settlement, LLM thesis, first module. And finally, in the last semester, LLM thesis, the paper part, and the seminar, research seminar will be provided. Well, maybe to highlight the content of the courses, the first course, normally advanced legal research methodology, it is intended to enable students to make research, legal researches. So it begins from identifying or defining what ultimately legal research is. In order to do so, it tries to first compare law with science. Usually there is a problem whether law is a science, so that we can apply scientific research methodologies or natural science or social science methodologies. Would it apply to law? Then we go to specific areas of research methodologies like doctrinal legal research, non-doctrinal or social legal research, mixed legal researches, research writing skills, and research ethics are also part of this course. Research writing is concerned with how the proposal would be developed, how the data would be presented, collected, presented, and then analyzed, and finally reported. And then the ethics is Well, normally research expects honesty of the writer, and so it tries to inculcate into the students this concept. Then the other topic, or maybe the other course, is theories of business regulation. This course generally is intended to replace or maybe substitute legal theories. In order to then attain its objective, it introduces political economic theories in connection with legal theories. The connection. It tries to connect political economic theories with legal theories, and then enable students to have legal theories in their own specific area, that's in the business law area. In order to do this, it discusses the following pointers. Theories of business regulation. That means, why should the state regulate business? There are three major theories to be discussed under this. Then, once the state decides to regulate, how should the state regulate? That is, techniques of business regulation would also be a top major issue. Then we will also discuss, or the course will contain, theories of property and property law. In fact, by this, it tries to distinguish between moral decisions, scientific cases, and legal. That means morality, science, and law is an issue to be distinguished. So in property theory, contract theory, firm and company theory, the course intends to make distinction between moral values or moral decisions, scientific issues, and legal issues. So the module contains, this course is taken to be the foundation or the basic or the normative basis of the curriculum itself, the normative basis of the curriculum. The third, is comparative investment law. Comparative investment law, well, it tries to discuss international investment and also domestic investment. Normally, it begins from Ethiopian legal system, that investment law, and compares it with the foreign jurisdiction plus international law. So it attempts to analyze, interpret international law relating with aim of identifying the responsibility of Ethiopia to foreign investment generally. So it discusses nature, evolution, content of international investment, investment treaties, investment contracts, admission and establishment of investment, investors' responsibility, state responsibility, and then finally comparative studies would be made. The other area is international trade, monetary and development law. In fact, normally international investment law and international trade, monetary and development laws are not direct or strictly private laws or maybe commercial law per se, but they would serve as a basis or maybe as a standard to maybe involve into business. So the international trade, monetary and development law concerns with the WTO, the IMF, and also the developing countries claim. So understand, critically analyze in fundamental principles of the WTO is an issue, IMF, World Bank, and international development law. So it discusses WTO, the Bretton Woods Agreement, United Nations Charter in relation to development, especially developing countries, and also content source enforcement of international development law. International development law relates to the right of developing countries vis-a-vis the international trade. So its purpose is this. Then the other, in fact, course, very basic course in this curriculum is comparative company law. Comparative company law emphasizes mainly on company governance. Company governance, its aim is normally help Ethiopian company governance to learn from other jurisdictions, especially the Anglo-American German and the Japanese system. Two major topics are included under this course. One is company governance, usually the domestic one, and the second is cross-border company governance. The multinational and transnational company regulations would be major topics to be covered. Then the other is related to the company is bankruptcy law. Equally here, the purpose is to learn from developed jurisdictions. So this bankruptcy law contains, in fact, theories of bankruptcy law, generally what is bankruptcy law ultimately. Economic theories of bankruptcy law, science that is. The second is the legal theories of the bankruptcy law. When it since it's a comparative study, it will take into account certain jurisdictions like the United States, British, French legal system, unilateral model insolvency law. Generally, the Ethiopian law is the standard, or maybe the point from where the discussion should be carried out. The other is comparative financial and security regulation. This is about the banking sector and the banking sector, and also this stock market. This is about the bank and the stock market, generally about finance, the monetary issues or monetary regulations in Ethiopia. So it is normally this, we can take it as a continuation of the regulation of the company. It discusses, the content is here somewhat. The objective is about banking regulation, although it's a continuation of the company, specific companies which are engaging in the banking sector. Some point is missed here. Then the course content is justification of financial and security. Why do the state regulate the bank? Security market. If the state has to regulate, how should it regulate? Then security regulation and financial regulation normally involves cross-border issues. Sometimes banking or stock market may go a bit outside of the territory or the domestic jurisdiction. So we will discuss, or this course discusses the Basel soft laws or the customary international law in this area. The other is comparative competition and competition. How many minutes do I have? No. Okay, fine. I should simply take 2 or more minutes. The comparative competition and consumer law is about competition generally. Intellectual property laws are also there. International business transactions are there. Procurement law, the government procurements would also be discussed, both in domestic level and international level. Commercial dispute settlement issues are also part of this. The thesis are there, and then the research seminars would be there. I will explain others during answer and question time. Thank you.
Dr. Gorav is over there. He also is a member of the curriculum development for criminal law and justice. To give you some background on how we started developing this curriculum, the effort to develop a curriculum or an LLM curriculum on criminal law started in 2003, but because of some reasons it was shelved and it did not materialize. As you know, our university was established in 1995, and after 8 years there was an effort to develop a criminal law curriculum, but this could not materialize. But since things have changed, we took the initiative to propose a curriculum on criminal law and justice, and this is also a timely issue for our country, as you know. So what is the rationale for this curriculum? With a noble purpose of fighting crime or mitigating crime in our country, we need able and manpower or professionals, and that's why we have this proposal on the table. So in Amharic, the course, the degree for this curriculum is በወንጀል ሕግና ፍትህ ማስትሬት degree, and this entails that the effort is going to be a significant contribution against fighting or mitigating or eradicating crimes in our society. So what are the assessment methods that for this course? Of course, all the types of assessment will be employed for each course in the curriculum. So this includes assignments, group discussions, group assignments, presentations, thesis, and a quiz and final exam. So for each course, that's how. In fact, this is true also for other courses. So, is there any demand for this curriculum or for this type of for this field? To answer this, we have conducted needs assessment, and we have found out that there is a demand for criminal law and justice curriculum. So, as you know, crime in our country has been increasing indiscriminately, and this course will enhance students' understanding on specific area of criminal law and criminal justice. And the graduates from this LLM program will highly be sought for their specialist knowledge in the field of criminal justice. So what is the vision? Of course, the vision is aligned to the vision of the university, and we aim to promote the vision of the university. And our school, the School of Law and Federalism, has a commitment, and its commitment is to be a leading center of excellence in criminal justice system in Ethiopia by capacity building of professionals professionals in criminal law. We have consulted, in fact, different curriculums in other universities like Jimma University and also Bahar Dar University, who have a comparable curriculum on criminal justice. But those curriculums are, in fact, they are related with other courses. Like, for example, Jimma University has a curriculum on criminal justice and human rights, so it's related to human rights specifically. There is no curriculum, as far as we have our consultation, there is no curriculum on just criminal justice that focuses on the laws and institutions in general. So that's one. So of course, the university's vision is to build capacity of civil servants, and here we have as we aim to build the capacity of public prosecutors, people working for correctional institutions, police and judges, and this is aligned. So as an objective, the objective is to gain and impart profound knowledge of criminal law and criminal justice, and to build strong and reliable professionals to mitigate or eliminate crimes in Ethiopia, and to prepare students with exalted knowledge on the philosophy of crime and criminal law. And the specific objective of is other than learning and doing research, our ultimate objective is to fight or to tackle crimes in Ethiopia. So to do this, we need strong institutions, we need able professionals, and that's what we have in mind when we say specific objective, that's our specific objective. And to protect the society from criminals and by punishing and by tackling crime. The methodology for developing this curriculum is listed, as you can see it from the slide. So we have conducted, as I indicated earlier, needs assessment. We have consulted curriculums of both national and foreign universities, and we have we had meetings on this particular subject with colleagues within our school, and we had divided the work in different specific areas, and we have discussed this, and we have got lots of inputs from colleagues here. So the discussions on contents and subject matters, so that's one, and we have reviewed relevant literatures, and we also had presented within the school and as presented and to our peers and discussed and got lots of inputs. So this is the methodology. So what's the program subject matter of this curriculum? Generally, the curriculum will provide deep knowledge on the subject matter, which is both on philosophical aspect of criminal law and justice, on substantive criminal law, and criminal procedure and evidence law. So it also includes all the institutions that are that we call in general criminal justice, like the police, correctional institutions, the prosecution department, and also the courts. So the key data, general data for this course is, to start with, the nomenclature is that criminal law and criminal justice. That's our proposal for naming the course. The duration of the course is as any other LLM program here. It's 4 semesters, that is 2 years. And frequency, the program starts every year at the beginning of an Ethiopian academic calendar, and it has 120 ECTS points. And the requirement for graduation is that students have to take all the modules of the curriculum and to produce an LLM thesis that fulfills the requirement of the academic merit, and have a minimum GPA of cumulative GPA of 3 points. Professional profile of that's the profound knowledge of criminal law and justice is required. Professional development of stakeholders in the Ethiopian criminal justice system, and advanced legal research in the field of criminal law and justice. Admission required, this is set by the university, and it applies not only for criminal justice law, but also it applies also for other programs, as you have also heard from our previous presenters here. So students need a bachelor degree in law from a recognized university, minimum GPA which is decided by the admission board, academic reference letter, and any other requirement that is decided by the university. And the requirements for graduation are that students should successfully complete all the modules of the curriculum and produce LLM thesis. I think I have already said this. So those are the list of courses that we have proposed for this curriculum. So you have 14 courses, and I think the last 2 are LLM thesis and seminar. So we have 12 courses apart from the LLM thesis and seminar. So I will go through each of these courses and to just show you what the contents of these courses are. As you can see, it starts with advanced legal research methodology, which is a course which is designed for all LLM programs in our school. But there is a slight difference, as I will show you in a bit. So the resource requirement, or the do we have resources to conduct or to this program? Of course, we need professors or instructors on the field of criminal law. I think to start the program, we have sufficient faculty members to start the program. And if needed, also there is the possibility of hiring other instructors or professors from outside. We have all the available classrooms and all the resources for this course, and relevant books and journals and online materials and are also available. Quality assurance, of course, in developing this program, we have followed all the quality assurance which are required to develop a new curriculum. Of course, as I mentioned, this is not only a work of my colleague Guarav and me. Other colleagues also participated, both formally and informally, I would say. So a team within our school has prepared this curriculum together in consultation with other colleagues. So this is the grading system, which is in fact for general for all the curriculum programs. As you can see, the modules are divided into 4 semesters. And in the first semester, you have advanced legal research methodology, advanced criminology, comparative criminal justice system, criminal justice and human rights. The second semester comprises comparative criminal law, comparative criminal procedure law, international criminal law and procedure, and anti-economic crimes law. The third semester, there is the transitional justice, criminal evidence law and forensic science, sentencing, execution and penalty, victimology and restorative justice, and LLM thesis submodule 1. And in the last semester will be LLM thesis submodule 2 and research seminar in contemporary issues in criminal law and justice. So this is just a topic selected, issues selected will be discussed in this particular area. So the first module, which is advanced legal research and methodology, is in fact related also to other modules or to other curriculums. The only difference is in chapter 2, which is specifically related to criminal justice and legal research. So generally, the business law and other modules have the same content concerning legal research, advanced legal research. But the specific on criminal laws, chapter 2 is different. So that's the only difference. Module 2 is advanced criminology, and this course is prepared to make our students aware of the different philosophical aspect of crime, which includes crimes frequency, location of a crime, causes of crime, types of crime, and social and individual consequences of crime. So this is just the philosophical foundation for the whole module, I would say. The other, module 3, is comparative criminal justice system. In fact, this module compares criminal justice system of different jurisdictions. So it compares the police, correctional institutions, prosecutions, courts, and so forth. So that's a comparative aspect of criminal justice system. And it is just to take and to have a good take and to have a lesson from other jurisdictions and see how it can be, our criminal justice system can be improved. Criminal justice and human rights, and I think this is very important because this module explores the relationship between the aim and purpose of criminal justice and the requirement of human rights. And it will it talks about the binding norms of human rights at every stage of the criminal justice, starting from investigation of crimes, interrogation, inquiry, during arrest, at police stations, and during trial. So it starts from the beginning of the process until the end. Comparative criminal law, this is a substantive criminal law, and it compares substantive criminal law from different jurisdictions. And it will discuss over some of pertinent provisions which are complex in nature and difficult to implement in practice. So this is a comparative substantive criminal law. Module 6 is comparative criminal procedural law. And this, the aim of this is to understand the similarities and difference in regulation of criminal procedure law in various countries, and see and to have a lesson for our criminal procedural law. So the rationale for this is, or the philosophical underpinning of in this of procedural law will all be discussed. The module 7 is international criminal law, and this focuses on on all international crimes, and how it also focuses on all contents which may cover territorial, extraterritorial, and cross-border offenses. So this is a broad course which covers all crimes, including transnational crimes and also what we call international crimes, like what the ICC deals, like crimes against humanity, genocide, and so forth. Not only that, but also transnational crimes like human trafficking or drug trafficking, and so forth. The module 8 is about is anti-economic crimes law, and the aim of this module is on the crimes which are committed against property. And these economic crimes are going to cover all crimes like financial crimes, bribery and corruption, money laundering, cyber crimes, drug trafficking, and banking and financial fraud. Transitional justice, this module examines or focuses on the process dealing with past human rights violations and how to address them in a transitional society. That is, it focuses on strategies available to governments in the aftermath of situations of mass violations of human rights to establish the rule of law and build sustainable peace. But this course is very pertinent to our situation in the present situation in Ethiopia. And the crimes evidence and forensic science, of course, criminal law cannot work without evidence and forensic science. So this course is all included because of that. So technologies are playing a significant role in almost all areas of society. Eventually, the criminal justice system cannot be outside technological development. So proper collection of evidence from the crime scene and its protection before the court is an important requirement. Therefore, this course will deal with such issues. The 11th module is sentencing and execution, which is the last stage of the last process, or the last stage in a criminal process. This module will focus on punishment or punishing crimes. It discusses the nature of punishment, moral and philosophical aspect of punishment, and it also discusses issues which have always been controversial, like the death penalty, public execution, deterrent punishment, and so forth. Victimology and restorative justice is a 12th module, and this course deals with crime victims and factors affecting victims. This course focuses on all men, women, children, and adult victims of common crimes in Ethiopia, like violent crime, sexual assault, domestic violations, etc. The last one is thesis, which is in fact a requirement for any LLM program, including criminal justice and also business law, as you have already heard from the presenters earlier. And the last one is research seminar on contemporary issues in criminal law and justice. This particular module, it can change from time to time because students will be only taught on particular issue that is relevant and that is current, that is contemporary. So this will make students will take them to the current situation. So they will be up to date on what is happening or how it is criminal law and justice is developing currently. And thank you.
Review of the curriculum, I'm going to provide my reflections. I will start with, I'm speaking from my notes, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation. I will start with the background, the motivation for having a postgraduate degree in comparative business law. One of my impressions is that you have overemphasized the negative side of multinationals operating in Ethiopia. The fact that multinationals are operating in Ethiopia has multiple benefits, but you emphasized on the fact that there are some multinationals who borrowed money from Ethiopian Development Bank and other national banks and have disappeared. That is not a complete reason, a strong reason to develop a curriculum on comparative business law. That is only on the negative side of multinational corporations operating in Ethiopia. So that is, so you overemphasized on the need to protect national interests, this thing and that thing, and I think business law is not about, is not exclusively about protecting national interests. It's about creating a conducive atmosphere for the flow of investment, so that both the investor and the nation benefits out of that transaction. Therefore, it should be the introductory section to your curriculum should be revised to provide a balanced perspective. Also, you emphasized on the need to have nationals to work or to operate in international courts and tribunals. And again, in my view, a comparative business law is not primarily about operating in international tribunals in the courts. It's about operating within the country. And also, you need to emphasize the fact that traders, even Ethiopian traders, it's not about only multinationals, it's also about Ethiopian businesses based in Ethiopia. Ethiopian businesses are one way or another affected by foreign and international laws, either because foreign laws are said to be the governing law in their transactions, in their contracts, or through different mechanisms, foreign laws and international laws affect Ethiopian businesses. Therefore, that is one good reason to have a postgraduate degree in comparative business law. And also, I would think that trying to identify the weaknesses in business-related courses in undergraduate program might give you additional reasons for a postgraduate degree in comparative business law. Here are my views. First of all, in undergraduate program, we tend to focus on the private side of business law, on the transactional side of business law, not on the regulatory side of business law. But currently, it is more the regulatory side of business law that affects businesses instead of the comparative aspect. So this is one reason. The second reason is in undergraduate programs, we tend to focus on historical law and the opinion of the teacher as opposed to what is the law. I will talk about that in relation to legal research methodology. I would think that undergraduate programs in business law are not sufficiently critical. It doesn't have sufficient critical content and focus on business laws, and it is highly focused on national laws. Therefore, there is a need for having a comparative perspective. You see, we study foreign laws not because foreign laws directly affect us, but because foreign laws also help us to understand Ethiopian law. በእኔ ብዙ ጊዜ የምለው ምንድነው የሰው ልጅ የሚያስበው በንጽጽር ነው። መርካቶ ሄዳችሁ አንድ ጅንስ ሱሪ ቢሰጣችሁ ጅንሱ ጥሩ ይሁን አይሁን በስንት ዋጋ በገዛው ያዋጣኛል አያዋጣኝም ለማወቅ ያስቸግራል። ነገር ግን የሆነ አንድ ማነጻጸሪያ ሲሰጠን ይቀለናል። ለዛ ነው ነጋዴዎች ማነጻጸሪያውን ይሰጡናል። ይሄኛውን ሱሪ አይተው ግራ ሲገባ ማነጻጸሪያ ይሄኛው ደግሞ አለ ሁለተኛው ደረጃ ሶስተኛው ደረጃ ዋጋው የሚቀንስ ዋጋው ከፍ የሚል እያሉ ይሰጡናል። የዛኔ ዲሲዥን ሜኪንግ ይቀላል። የሰው ልጅ የሚያስበው በንጽጽር ነው። ኮምፓራቲቭ ሎም ለኔ የሚያስፈልገው ለዛ ነው። የኢትዮጵያን ሕግ በደንብ አንደርስታንድ ለማድረግ የኢትዮጵያን ሕግ ችግሮች፣ ስትሬንግዞች፣ ደካማ ጎኖች፣ ጠንካራ ጎኖች ማወቅ የምንችለው ከሌሎች ሀገሮች ሕጎች አንጻር ስንመለከታቸው ነው። ቀዳዳዎቹ የሚታዩ፣ ድክመቶቹ የሚታዩ። ስለዚህ ይሄ ፐርፐዝ ኦፍ ኮምፓራቲቭ ፐርስፔክቲቭ አንቱ ራሽናል መጀመሪያ ላይ ስታስቀምጡት እሱ ላይ በደንብ ኢንፈሳይዝ ብታደርጉት ጥሩ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ከዚህ በመቀጠል በዋናነት ሁለት ኮርሶች ላይ ኢንፈሳይዝ ላድርግና ጀነራል ኮሜንት እሰጣለሁ። አንደኛው ኢንፈሳይዝ የማደርገው ኮርስ አድቫንስድ ሌጋል ሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ የሚለው ነው። ካሪኩለሙ ላይ እንደዛ ነው የተቀመጠው። ምስጋናው ስታቀርበው ኤንድ ራይቲንግ ስኪልስ የሚላለው ጥሩ ነው እና እኔ አድቫንስድ ሌጋል ሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ ብዙ ጊዜ ብዙ ካሪኩለሞችን አያለው። አንደርግራጁዌት ፕሮግራሞች አስተምራለሁ። መቀሌ ዩኒቨርሲቲ፣ አዲስ አበባ ዩኒቨርሲቲ፣ ሀረማያ ዩኒቨርሲቲ አስተምራለሁ። ብዙ ችግር ያለበት ኮርስ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ ሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ ኮርስ እና በደንብ ሊታይና ካሪኩለሙ ሊቃኝ ይገባል። ምንድነው ይሄንን ኮርስ አድቫንስድ ያደረገው? አድቫንስድ ስንል ምኑ ነው አድቫንስድ ያደረገው? ለምሳሌ እዚህ ሪሰርች በፖስት ግራጁዌቶች የሚሰራ ሪሰርች እና በአንደር ግራጁዌቶች የሚሰራ ሪሰርች በምን ቢለያይ ነው? በምን መልኩ ቢለያዩ ነው አድቫንስድ የሆነ የሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ ኮርስ ያስፈለገው? in the first place, what is legal research? What are the current problems with legal research undertaken in Ethiopia? How much of this emanates from having low levels of research skills? And ከዛ ከሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ ከሪሰርች ብቃት ጥናት የማድረግ ብቃት ካለመኖር ጋር ነው የሚያያዙት። ብዙዎቹ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያሉ የሕግ ጥናት ጋር የተያያዙ ችግሮች ከብቃት ከሪሰርች ሜቶዶሎጂ ችግር ነው ወይስ ከሌላ ችግር ነው የሚለው በደንብ ተለይቶ ካሪኩለም ኮንቴንቱ በዛ መልኩ ዲዛይን ቢደረግ ጥሩ ነው። የኔን ቪው ላስቀምጥ። መጀመሪያ ሎየሮች ለምንድን ነው ሪሰርች የሚሰሩት የሚለውን ብዙ ጊዜ መስጋናው አስቀምጠዋል። ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች ነው የሚሰሩት ሎየሮች፣ ማንኛውም ሎየር ማለት ነው። ጠበቃውም፣ ዳኛውም፣ አቃቢ ሕጉም፣ የመስሪያ ቤት ኢንሃውስ አድቫይዘሩ፣ ሁሉም ሎየር ሪሰርች መስራት አለበት። ሩቲንሊ ሪሰርች ይሰራል። ያለ ሪሰርች ኦፕሬት አያደርግም። ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች ነው ይሄኛው። ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች የምንለው it is an attempt to find out what the law, what the governing law is, what the applicable law is in a given situation. applicable law ምንድነው የሚለውን ፋይንድ አውት ለማድረግ ነው ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች የሚሰራው። ከዛ በኋላ ሁለተኛው ታይፕ ኦፍ ሪሰርች ደግሞ ኤክስፕላናቶሪ ሪሰርች ነው። ኤክስፕላናቶሪ ሪሰርች ዓላማው ምንድነው? ህጉ ይሄንን ይዘት የያዘው ለምንድን ነው? what could explain the reason why the law has the content it has now. ሶስተኛው ኢቫሉዌቲቭ ሪሰርች ነው። በዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች ብንጀምር ያሉት ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያሉት ችግሮች ምንድናቸው? አንደኛው ብዙ ጊዜ የአንደርግራጁዌት ቴሲሶችን ስታዩ ርዕሱ ይሰጥና ለምሳሌ ምን ሊሆን ይችላል? liability for traffic accident ይልና the law and the practice የሚባል አባባል አለ፣ የተለመደ አባባል። ምን ማለት ነው the law and the practice? ለምንድን ነው the law and the practice የሚል አባባል የመጣው? because ትምህርት ቤት ውስጥ የምንማረውና ፕራክቲስ ውስጥ ያለው የተለያየ ስለሆነ ነው። and we think that ትምህርት ቤት ውስጥ የምንማረውን እንደ law እንወስደውና ያኛውን ደግሞ ከህግ የተለየ አድርገን እንወስደዋለን። ግን what is the law ስንል ምንድን ነው ብለን የምንጠይቀው? ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች ማለት to some extent ሳይንቲፊክ ነው ወይስ አይደለም የሚለውን ዲቤቱን እንተወውና ዶክትሪናል ሪሰርች is a predictive exercise። ፕሪዲክት የማድረጊያ ኤክሰርሳይዝ ነው። ለምሳሌ አንድ ውክልና ስልጣን የተሰጠው ኤጀንት ከስልጣኑ ውጭ ወጣና ከሶስተኛ ወገን ጋር ውል ተዋዋለ። ስለዚህ ህጉ ምን ይላል የሚለውን ፋይንድ አውት ለማድረግ what we are trying to do is we are trying to predict the kind of outcome that we expect from the courts. ይሄ ጉዳይ የመጨረሻው የፍርድ ቤት አካል ወደ ሆነው አካል ለምሳሌ የፌደራል ጠቅላይ ፍርድ ቤት ሰበር ሰሚ ችሎት ቢደርስ ምን አይነት ውሳኔ ይወስድ ይችላል የሚለውን ኢን አድቫንስ ፕሪዲክት አድርገን ደንበኛችንን ለማማከር ትራንዛክሽን ዲዛይን እያደረግን ከሆነ ውል እየቀረጽን ከሆነ ውሉን ዲዛይን ለማድረግ ምን ተጠቀምበት ነው። ስለዚህ ከዛ ኳያ ፕሪዲክቲቭ ኤክሰርሳይዝ ነውና ያንን ፕሪዲክሽን የሚያግዙ ስኪሎች ያስፈልጋሉና ያንን ስኪሎች የሚያስተምር ኮርስ መሆን አለበት። how do you predict the outcome of a given case? ስለዚህ ከዚህ ጋር በተያያዘ በተለይ እኛ ሀገር አሁን ሰበር ሰሚ ችሎቶች የሰበር ሰሚ ውሳኔዎች በጣም ኢምፖርታንት እየሆኑ መጥተዋል። ነገር ግን የሰበር ሰሚ ችሎት ውሳኔዎችን እንዴት መጠቀም እንችላለን? how do you apply cases to try to undertake legal research የሚለውን እዚህ ላይ በደንብ ከቨር ቢደረግ ጊዜ ለመቆጠብ ሪትን የጻፍኩትን ኮሜንት እሰጣችኋለሁ። ከዛ በኋላ ወደ ኤክስፕላኔቶሪ ሊጋል ሪሰርች ስንመጣ እንዴት ነው ያንድን ህግ ስርዓት ወይም ይዘት ኤክስፕሌን ማድረግ የምንችለው? ፓርት ኦፍ ዋን ሊጋል ሪሰርች ነው እና ከዛ አኳያ የፖለቲካል ኢኮኖሚ ወይም ደግሞ እናንተ እንትን ላይ ኢንትሮዳክሽን ቱ ቢዝነስ ሬጉሌሽን የሚለው ኮርስ ላይ ኢንስቲትዩሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭ ብላችሁ አስገባችሁታል። ኢንስቲትዩሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭ ቢገባበት እዚህ ላይ ጥሩ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። በጣም ሞስት ኢምፖርታንትሊ ከኢትዮጵያ የህግ ስርዓት አኳያ ኢምፖርታንት ነው ብዬ የማስበው የኢቫሉዌቲቭ ሪሰርች ወይም ደግሞ ክሪቲካል ሪሰርች ነው። የአካዳሚክ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ውስጥ የምትሰሩ ሰዎች ታውቃላችሁ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ ያለውን ሪሰርች። እኛ ሎየሮች ሪሰርች ሰራ እንላለን እንጂ ሌሎች ጓደኞቻችን ደግሞ አይ ይሄ ደግሞ ሪሰርች ነው እንደ አስተያየት ነው እኮ ይሄ ታሪክ ነው ይሉናል። እና ፕሮሞሽን ላይ ምን ላይ እንቸገራለን። ፕሮሞሽን ላይ ከምንቸገርበት ምክንያት አንደኛው ምንድነው ክሊር የሆነ ኖርማቲቭ ፍሬምወርክ ስለማናስቀምጥ ነው። ኢቫሉዌሽን እንሰራለን፣ ህግን እንገመግማለን። ነገር ግን በምን አንፃር እንደምንገመግመው አስቀድመን ክሊር ስለማናደርግ ነው። አንዳንዴ ይሄማ ሪሰርች አይደለም ሰዎች ሌሎች ሶሻል ሳይንቲስቶች ይሄማ ሪሰርች አይደለም እንዲሉ ከሚያደርገው ነገር አንደኛው ያ ነው። ስለዚህ how do you evaluate a law የሚለውን እዚህ ላይ ግልጽ ዲስከሽን ኮንቴንት ቢኖረው ኮርሱ ጥሩ ነው እላለሁ። ከዚያ አኳያ በጣም ኮርሱ ሊጠናከር ይችላል የምለው ሁለት አዲስ ሜጀር ፎከሶች ቢገቡበት በሚል ነው። because it is about comparative business law አይደል? ስለዚህ እዚህ ላይ there should be a focus on the art of comparison. ኮምፓሪዝን ማድረግ ምን ማለት ነው? ምክንያቱም ኮምፓራቲቭ ሎ ማለት ዝም ብሎ ፎሪን ሎውን ማንበብ አይደለም። ኮምፓሪዝኑ ፋንክሽናል ኮምፓሪዝን መሆን አለበት፣ ቴክስቹዋል ኮምፓሪዝን አይደለም። እንዴት ነው ለምሳሌ የኢትዮጵያን የውክልና ህግ ከእንግሊዝ የውክልና ህግ ጋር ማወዳደር ብፈልግ እንዴት ነው የእንግሊዝን ህግ የማገኘው? ከየት ነው የማገኘው? እንዴት ነው የማወዳደረው? የሚለውን ኮንቴንት እና ስኪል እዚህ ላይ ማግኘት አለባቸው ብዬ አስባለሁ፣ ሌሎች ካሪኩለሙ ላይ ስለሌሉ ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ ዘ አርት ኦፍ ኮምፓሪዝን የሚለው ትልቅ ፎከስ ሊሰጠው ይገባል። ሁለተኛ ሳጀስት የማደርገው አጌን ኢቫሉዌቲቭ አስፔክቱን ለማጠናከር ኢኮኖሚክስ ኦፍ ሎ አስፔክት ቢገባበት፣ እንዴት ነው ኢኮኖሚክስን በመጠቀም ህግን አናላይዝ ማድረግ የምንችለው የሚለውን እዚህ ላይ ብታስገቡበት ጥሩ ነው። እኔ ያስኩት ኮሜንት ሌላኛው አዲሽናል ኮሜንት ራይቲንግ ሪሰርች ሪፖርት የሚል ቢገባበት የሚል ነበረ። ኦልሬዲ ምስጋናው እንትን ብለዋል አስገብተዋል። ቲዎሪስ ኦፍ ቢዝነስ ሬጉሌሽን የሚለው ኮርስ ላይ የፐብሊክ ኢንተረስት ቲዎሪስ የፕራይቬት ኢንተረስት ቲዎሪስ ተብሎ መጀመሪያ ላይ ዲስክሪፕሽኑ ላይ ኢንስቲትዩሽናል ምናምን የሚል አለ። ኮንቴንቱ ላይ ስገባ አጣውት እና ግልጽ አድርጉት እሱ ላይ ለኔ ፕራይቬት ኢንተረስት የሚባለው ቲዎሪ ኢትስ አባውት ኢንስቲትዩሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭስ። አይዲያው ምንድነው? ፐብሊክ ኢንተረስት ኢትስ አባውት ማርኬት ፌለር ዲስከሽን ነው። አንዳንዴ በተግባር የምናየው የህጉ ይዘት መሆን ካለበት ሲለይ እንዴት ነው የተለየው እንላለን። ሲምፕል ኤግዛምፕል የኢትዮጵያ መንግስት በአንድ ወቅት የምግብ ዋጋ ተወደደ ብሎ እንትን አውጥቶ ነበር። ምንድነው የዋጋ ተመን ስጋ በ53 ብር ነው መሸጥ ያለበት፣ ቢራ በ15 ብር ነው መሸጥ ያለበት ምናምን የሚል። አሁን ይሄንን from the public interest theory perspective አይተን ተገቢ ነው ወይስ አይደለም የሚል ጃጅመንት እንደርሳለን። እንደኔ አሰስመንት በጣም የሚገርም ተገቢ ያልሆነ ውሳኔ ነው በፐብሊክ ኢንተረስት ቴዎሪ ስታዩት። አሁን ግን የሚያስነሳው ጥያቄ እንዴት ነው መንግስት ግን ወደዚህ ውሳኔ እንዴት ሊሄድ ቻለ የሚለውን ለመመለስ የምንጠቀመው የፐብሊክ ቾይስ ፐርስፔክቲቭ ነው ኦር ፕራይቬት ኢንተረስት ፐርስፔክቲቭ። ይሄ ደግሞ ወደ ምንድነው የሚወስደን? ቆይ ከዚህ ህግ የሚጠቀምና የሚጎዳ ማን ነው ብለን እንድናይ። ለምሳሌ የሚጠቀሙ አካላት ካሉ፣ በህጉ የሚጠቀሙ አካላት ካሉ፣ በህጉ የሚጎዱ አካላት ካሉ የተጠቀሙት አካሎች ራሳቸውን አደራጅተው ነው ወይ ይሄ ህግ እንዲወጣ ያደረጉት መንግስት ላይ ኢንፍሉዌንስ ያደረጉት አይነት ዲስከሽን ውስጥ እንዲገቡ ነው አይደል የምንፈልገው። ስለዚህ ይሄ ኢንስቲትዩሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭ በደንብ ግልጽ መደረግ አለበት። በእርግጥ እኔ የአስተማሪው ካሪኩለም ኮንቴንት ላይ ስንገባ በጣም ዲቴይል መሄድ የለብንም። የአስተማሪውን ዲስክሬሽን በጣም ማጥበብ የለብንም። ግን በሚኒመም ኮንቴንት የሚለው መግባት አለበትና ግልጽ መሆን ስላለበት ከዛ ስለ ቢዝነስ ሬጉሌሽን ስናወራ ሁለት አይነት ሬጉሌሽን አለ፣ ፕራይቬት ሬጉሌሽን እና ፐብሊክ ሬጉሌሽን። በተለይ ማርኬት ቤዝድ ሬጉሌሽንስ የምንላቸው ሰልፍ ሬጉሌሽን ለምሳሌ በራሳቸው አሶሲዬሽኖች በራሳቸው ቢዝነሶች ራሳቸውን ሬጉሌት ለማድረግ ይሞክራሉና ይሄ it is becoming an increasingly important ሴክተር። ኢትዮጵያም ወደዛ እየሄደች ያለበት ሁኔታ ነው። አንዳንድ ሴክተሮችን አስመልክቶ ለምሳሌ ሬጉሌሽን ኦፍ ፕሮፌሽንስ ወደ ሰልፍ ሬጉሌሽን እየሄደ ነው። አዲስ የተረቀቀው ለምሳሌ የጠበቆች አዋጅ ከመንግስት ቁጥጥር ባለሙያው ራሱን በራሱ ባለሙያ አሶሲዬሽን እንዲቆጣጠር የማድረግ ሂደት አለ እና ይሄ ሰልፍ ሬጉሌሽን ኢምፖርታንት እየሆነ ነው ኢንተርናሽናሊ። እንዳጋጣሚ ሆነ የዛሬ ሳምንት አዲስ አበባ ዩኒቨርሲቲ ከዶክተር ማህሪ ረዳይ ጋር እያወራን ምን አነሱልኝ፣ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እኮ በተለይ ኢንተርናሽናል ካምፓኒ ላይ ተቀጥረው የሚሰሩ ሰራተኞች አሏል። የእነሱን ጥቅም የሚያስከብረው የኢትዮጵያ ህግ አይደለም። የኢትዮጵያ ለምሳሌ የአበቦች እርሻ ውስጥ የሚሰሩ ሰራተኞችን ደህንነት የሚያረጋግጠው መብታቸውን የሚያስከብረው የኢትዮጵያ ህግ አይደለም። it is the self regulatory mechanism of European market። ብዙ ጊዜ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ አበባ የሚያመርቱ ሰዎች የሚሸጡት ለአውሮፓ ገበያ ነው። የአውሮፓ ኮንሱመር ደግሞ ኮንሺየስ ኮንሱመር ስለሆነ ይሄ የሚመረተው አበባ ኢንቫይሮንመንታሊ እና ሶሻሊ ሪስፖንሲብል በሆነ መንገድ መመረቱን ማረጋገጥ ይፈልጋል። ስለዚህ ለዛ ሲሉ ለሰራተኞቻቸው ሊቪንግ ዌጅ ይሰጣሉ፣ የመደራጀት መብታቸውን ያከብራሉ፣ ኢንቫይሮንመንታሊ ሪስፖንሲብል የሆነ ሚንስ ኦፍ ፕሮዳክሽን ይከተላሉ። ስለዚህ የኢትዮጵያን ሰራተኞች ደህንነት እያረጋገጠ ያለው የኢትዮጵያ ህግ ሳይሆን ይሄ ፕራይቬት ሴክተሩ ነው፣ የኢሮፒያን ፕራይቬት ሴክተር ነው ይላል። ስለዚህ ይሄ ነን ማርኬት ሜካኒዝም ዘ ሰልፍ ሬጉላቶሪ ሲስተም ኢዝ አን ኢምፖርታንት ሬጉላቶሪ ቱል ነውና እዚህ ቲዎሪስ ኦፍ ቢዝነስ ሬጉሌሽን የሚለው ላይ በደንብ ቦታ ሊሰጠው ይገባል። አንድ ከኛ ሀገር ችግር ተነስቼ አሁን ደግሞ ሌላ ነገር የምለው ምንድነው ቴክኒክስ ኦፍ ሬጉሌሽን የሚል ሴክሽን አለ ኦር ሬጉላቶሪ ኢንስትሩመንትስ በደንብ እንትኑ ብትሏቸው ፉሊ ብታስቀምጧቸው ጥሩ ነው፣ ሚስ እንዳይደረጉ። ሬጉላቶሪ ኢንስትሩመንትስ ብዙ አሉ። የኢትዮጵያ ሬጉላቶሪ ሲስተም በወርልድ ባንክ የተሰራ ጥናት እንደሚያሳየው ላይሰንሲንግ ላይ ያተኩራል፣ በር ጥበቃ ላይ ጌት ኮንትሮል ላይ ያተኩራል። በር ለመግባት በጣም ትልቅ ኢንትሪ ባሪየር ያስቀምጥና ከዛ በኋላ አንድ ሰው ላይሰንስ ከተሰጠው በኋላ ግን ምን እየሰራ ነው ምን እያደረገ ነው የሚደረገው በቂ ቁጥጥር አይደረግበትም ይላል። ላይሰንሲንጉ ራሱ ወደ 2008 ወደ በወርልድ ባንክ ጥናት መሰረት ወደ 2800 አይነት የላይሰንስ አይነቶች አሉ ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እና ለቢዝነስ ዲቨሎፕመንት ባሪየር የሆኑ አሁን እነሱ ለመቀነስ እየተሞከረ ነው። ስለዚህ እኛ በተፈጥሯችን በር ጥበቃና ክልከላ ላይ እናተኩራለን በኢትዮጵያ ሕግ ስርዓት እና ስለሌሎቹ available means of regulatory instruments እውቀቱም የለንም ልምዱም የለንም። ስለዚህ እነሱ እዚህ ላይ ከቨር የሚደረጉበት ከላይሰንሲንግ በተጨማሪ ኳሊቲ ኮንትሮል፣ ፕራይስ ኮንትሮል፣ ኳንቲቲ ኮንትሮል፣ information as a regulatory instrument, information disclosure obligation, the use of taxes and subsidies as a regulatory instrument, market based instruments የሚሏቸው ደግሞ አሉ increasingly important እየሆኑ የመጡት እነዚህን ኢንስትሩመንቶች ተማሪዎቹ ኢንትሮዲዩስ የሚደረጉበት እንዲሆን ማድረግ ጥሩ ነው እላለሁ። ይሄንን ስለዚህ ስለ ሁለቱ ኮርሶች እነዚህን ካልኩኝ በኋላ አጠቃላይ ኮርሱ ኮምፓራቲቭ እና ኢንተርናሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭ ስላለው በእያንዳንዱ ኮርስ እንዴት ቢካተት ይሻላል የሚለውን አስተያየት ለመስጠት ነው። ለምሳሌ አንደኛው ቦታ ስመለከት ኮምፒቲሽን ኤንድ ኮንሱመር ፕሮቴክሽን ካሪኩለሙን ኮንቴንቱን እያየው ቶፒኮቹን ያስቀምጥና መጨረሻ ላይ ኢንትሮዳክሽን ቱ ኢትዮጵያን ኮንሱመር ፕሮቴክሽን ሎ የሚል ነገር አየሁ። አሁን ስለዚህ እስከ መጨረሻው ቻፕተር ድረስ ለውጭ ሀገር ህጎች ይማሩና ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ህግ የሚማሩት መጨረሻ ላይ ነው የሚል መልኩ ነው እና እንዴት ነው የኮምፓራቲቭ እና የኢንተርናሽናል ፐርስፔክቲቭን ወደ ካሪኩለሙ እናስገባው? ለኔ አሁን ለምሳሌ ኮንትራክት we are talking about contract, the first issue in contract is offer and acceptance አይደል? ስለዚህ offer and acceptance ከሆነ ለምሳሌ take the problem of battle of the forms የሆነውን ፕሮብለም ወስድና ምንድነው ማድረገው ፕሮብለሙን ኢንትሮዲዩስ አደርጋለሁ ለተማሪዎቹ what is the issue ከዛ በኋላ እንግሊዞቹ እንዴት እየፈቱት ነው፣ ፈረንሳዮቹ እንዴት እየፈቱት ነው፣ እኛስ እንዴት እየፈታ ነው የሚለውን ነው ማየው እንጂ ስለ እንግሊዝና ስለ ፈረንሳይ ካወራው በኋላ መጨረሻ ላይ አይደለም ስለ ኢትዮጵያ ማወራው። ስለዚህ ኮንሲስተንት መሆን አለበት all the comparative courses ምናልባት በተለያየ ሰው ስለተባለ ሊሆን ይችላል አላይንድ መሆን አለበት። the way we thematic በሆነ መልኩ ነው ኢንትሮዲዩስ መደረግ ያለበት። you start with the topic, you start with the problem, and then we examine how those issues are addressed in different legal systems, and then we use that in order to understand or critically analyze the Ethiopian law. ስለዚህ ኢትዮጵያን ሎ እንደ ቻፕተር አንድ ላይ የሚቀመጥ ሳይሆን ሁሉም ቻፕተር ላይ የሚገባ ፎሪን ሎዎችም እንደዚህ ሁሉም ቻፕተር ላይ የሚገባ መሆን አለበት ብዬ አስባለሁ። ከዛ we should drop this civil law and common law distinction as a comparative until it is too simplistic. An advanced ለሆነ comparative course too simplistic ነው። ለኢንትሮዳክተሪ ቱ ሎ ኮርስ ለአንደርግራጁዌት ምንም ችግር የለም። የኢትዮጵያ የዓለም የህግ ስርዓቶች በኮመን ሎ በሲቪል ሎ ይከፈላሉ ማለት። ለፖስት ግራጁዌት ኮርስ ግን ጥሩ አይደለም ብዬ አስባለሁ። ቢኮዝ አዝ የኔ አንድ ኮምፓራቲቭ ሎ አስተማሪ ፕሮፌሰር ማርኬሲንስ ይባላል እንደሚለው ምንድነው በኮመን ሎና በሲቪል ሎ መካከል ያለው ልዩነት የታሪክ ልዩነትና ሞር የቋንቋ ልዩነት ነው እንጂ ብዙም እንትን አይደለም የሚለው አለ። አትሊስት አገሮችን ሲቪል ሎ ኤንድ ኮመን ሎ ብለን በመከፋፈል አንደርስታንድ አናደርገውም። ስለዚህ ፎከስ መሆን ያለበት ምንድነው በእያንዳንዱ ኮርስ የየትኛው ሀገር ህግ ከቨር ይደረግ። ሁሉንም ሀገር ህግ ከቨር ማድረግ ያስቸግራል። ስለዚህ ቾይሱ በምን ይወሰን? አሁን እኛ በተለምዶ እዚህ ሀገር ምን እንላለን? ኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል ሎ ሀገር ስለሆነች የሲቪል ሎ ሀገር ነው ማጠናው ይባላል። አሁን አንደር ግራጁዌትም ፖስት ግራጁዌትም ፔፐር ሲጻፍ ኮምፓራቲቭ ነው ይልና እንደዚህ ሀገሮች የመረጥኳቸው ምክንያቱም ኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል ሎ ስለሆነችና ሲቪል ሎን ማጥናት ስላለብን የሚል ነገር አለ። አገን it's like እኔ ኮመርሻል ኮድን በማርቀቅ የዛሬ 5 አመት ነው የተቋቋመ ቡድን ነበር ኮመርሻል ህግን ለማርቀቅ እና እኔ የባንክራፕሲ ህግን ለማርቀቅ ተመደብኩኝ ከጓደኞቼ ጋር እና የሥራ መመሪያ ሲሰጠን መጀመሪያ የተሰጠን የሥራ መመሪያ ምንድነው እንግዲህ ኢትዮጵያ ልማታዊ አገር መንግስት ስለሆነች እናንተም ከልማታዊ መንግስት ሀገሮች ትምህርት ቅሰሙ ተባለ። ከዛ በኋላ ኦኬ ልማታዊ ሀገሮች እነማን ናቸው ሲባሉ እነ ደቡብ ኮሪያ እነ ጃፓን ምናምን ከዛ በኋላ የእነሱን ባንክራፕሲ ህግ ስናይ የተቀዳው ከአሜሪካ ነው። ስለዚህ ከቀጂ ለምን እንቀዳለን? ለምን ከምንጩ አንሄድም? ምንም እንኳን ኒዮ ሊበራል ቢሆኑ የሚል አንዳንዴ የማኦ የቻይና መሪ ሞዶ መሪ አለ ከማኦ ቀጥሎ የመጣው መሪ ደንግ ምን ይላል ድመቷ ጥቁር ትሁን ነጭ ትሁን አይ ዶንት ኬር ዋናው አይጥ መያዟ ነው ይላል ስለዚህ እዚህም ላይ እንደዛ ነው መሆን ያለብን ሲቪል ሎ አፍሪካ ምናምን ሳይሆን የሚጠቅመንን የህግ ስርዓት ነው ማካተት ያለብን የሚጠቅመንን ስንል ደግሞ ከአንድ ልንጠቀምበት የምንችለው ፐርስፔክቲቭ ምናልባት የኢትዮጵያ ቢዝነስስ ዩዥዋሊ ኢንተራክት የሚያደርጓቸው ሀገሮች እነማን ናቸው የሚለው ኢምፖርታንት ነው ለምሳሌ የኢትዮጵያ ቢዝነስስ የሚገዙትና የሚሸጡት ለቱርክ ሆነው ይያልና ከቱርክ ነጋዴዎች ጋር እየተገያዩ ይያለ የቢዝነስ ተማሪዎቻችንን ግን ስለ አሜሪካን ህግ ብናስተምራቸው ምን ዋጋ አለው ስለዚህ የኢትዮጵያን የቢዝነስ የኢንተርናሽናል ቢዝነስ ፓተርን ማየት አለብን የቻይና ህግ ሞር ኢንክሪዚንግሊ ኢምፖርታንት ሊሆን ይችላል የኢትዮጵያ ነጋዴዎች ከቻይና ባለ ሀብቶች ጋር ከሆነ ኢንተራክት የሚያደርጉት ስለዚህ የኢትዮጵያ ሎየሮች የኢትዮጵያ ነጋዴዎች ሊጠቅሟቸው የሚችሉት ሳም ሶርት ኦፍ ኖሌጅ አባውት ቻይኒዝ ሎ ሲኖራቸው ነው እሱም ታይት አለበት ኦል ዘ ዩዥዋል ሳስፔክትስ ምንላቸው እና ያካተተ ነው በእርግጥ የቋንቋ ባሪየር አለበት እነ አሜሪካ እንግሊዝ እና ጀርመን ፈረንሳይ የሚሉትን ዩዥዋል ሳስፔክቶች ነው ያካተተ ነው ግን ይሄ ኮርስ ኢኖቬቲቭ እና ዩዝፉል እንዲሆን those students who have attended this course must be useful to Ethiopian businesses. Ethiopian businesses ደግሞ they interact frequently with the Chinese businesses, with the Turkish, the Indian businesses. Therefore, they should have that በቻይና ህግ ኤክስፐርት አናረጋቸውም ግን that familiarity with the Chinese law. አንዳንድ ቦታ ላይ ደግሞ we have to look at the doing business report የdoing business reportን ብናየው በአንዳንድ መለኪያዎች ላይ በአለም ላይ ምርጥ ህግ ያላቸው ሀገሮች የትኞቹ ናቸው የሚለው ለምሳሌ ባንክንን እንውሰድ bankruptcy አሁን in bankruptcy I've seen that unilateral principle unilateral legislative guide covered ተደርጓል ጥሩ ነው because that provides a more comparative synthesis of national laws. You talked about the fact that the American bankruptcy law, the British bankruptcy law, German bankruptcy law will be covered. When we were working on revising Ethiopia's bankruptcy law, I read one of the doing business reports, and apparently it is Finland who has the best bankruptcy insolvency law in the world. Finland. አሁን አጠረጠረም ፊንላንድ ነው ምርጥ ህግ ያላት ብለን እና ሰው ለአሜሪካ ጀርመን ምናምን ነው የምንሄደው ስለዚህ አንዳንድ እንትሮች ላይ which country has the best law የሚለውን አይተን ከዛ አኳያ ነው እንትናችን ኮምፓራቲቭ ፎከሳችን ከዛ አኳያ ሊቃኝ ይገባል the international aspectን በተመለከተ yes there is an international business transaction course እና ለምሳሌ from Vienna convention on the sale of goods የሚለውን ከቨር የሚያደርግና ሌሎች ነገሮችን ከቨር የሚያደርግ ነገር ግን for a comparative business law I thought that some sort of regional focus should be given particularly in Africa at this moment there is a renewed effort movement to create an integrated African wide integrated market so probably that is እንትን ላይ international trade እና monetary policy ላይ የሚለው ከቨር ሊደረግ ይችላል ግን because አሁን globalization you talked about globalization አሁን globalization there is a retreat from globalization worldwide ከglobalization retreat እያደረገን ነው አሜሪካ retreat እያደረገች እኮ ነው protectionist እየሆኑ ነው ዩሮፒያን አገሮች protectionist more local focus and regional focus እየሆኑ ነው ስለዚህ የኢትዮጵያ ወደፊት የልማት መንገድ እንደ ቻይኖቹ እንዳደረጉት እያመረቱ ለአሜሪካና ለአውሮፓ በመሸጥ አይመስለኝም the most likely trajectory is transacting with neighboring African countries ስለዚህ where is in this curriculum where is sufficient focus to be given to continental wide የሆነ East African focused የሆነ ኮንቴንት ቢኖር አስባለሁ ጥሩ ሳይዱ እኔ አሁን ካለው ጊዜ አኳያ ሚስ የሚያደርገው ነው እዚህ ቁጭ ብዬ በተጠኝ ጊዜ ባሞግሳችሁ ትርጉም የለውም ጥሩ የሰራችሁትን ግን መጨረሻ ላይ በጠቅስ እንትን የምለው it is good that capital markets is given an emphasis because in Ethiopia that's going to be key. Soon we are going to have, I think we are going to have a stock exchange. We're going to liberalize, I think we are going to liberalize the financial sector and so on and so on. So having Ethiopian lawyers with sufficient knowledge and skill on capital markets is important, and you have done a good job. And I like the fact that bankruptcy law is also given emphasis. ብዙ ጊዜ የኢትዮጵያ ባንክራፕሲ ሎው ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ እድል ተሰጥቶት አያውቅም። አጋጣሚው ሲገኝም ማለት ነው። ጃክሮስ የሚባል ኩባንያ ሲፈርስ ኢንስቲድ ኦፍ ሶልቪንግ ኢት ስሩ ባንክራፕሲ ሎው የሚኒስትሮች ኮሚቴ ተቋቋመና ፍቱት ተባሉ። ከዛ በኋላ አክሰስ ሪል ስቴትም እንደዚሁ ሲፈርስ ኢንስቲድ ኦፍ taking it as an opportunity to develop and experiment with our bankruptcy law አሁንም የሚኒስትሮች ኮሚቴ ተቋቋመና ሶልቭ አድርጉት ተባለ። We didn't give enough attention to our bankruptcy law, not only in practice but also in legal education. Legal education, I don't know, undergraduate program ላይ እኔ በመማርበት ሰዓት bankruptcy law የሚባል ኮርስ አልነበረም። አሁን እንደ ኦፕሽናል ኮርስ አለ መሰለኝ። ግን giving it an important focus here is important because in the future businesses are going to fail. Businesses are going to fail. እሱ ስለዚህ እሱን አድሬስ ማድረግ ጥሩ ነው ብዬ አስባለሁ። ምናልባት ፐብሊክ ፕራይቬት ፓርትነርሺፕ is going to be an important area for Ethiopian businesses, but that could be covered by in contemporary issues like የሚለው cover ይደረጋል። መጨረሻ ላይ ሪኮመንድ የማደርገው ቴሲስን በተመለከተ the school of law የሪሰርች ፕሮግራም ቢኖረው ብዬ አስባለሁ። what are the possible research areas useful የሆነ ለኢትዮጵያ ሕግ ስርዓት አስተዋጽኦ የሚያደርግ ችግር የሚፈታ ዝም ብሎ ተማሪዎችን ሪሰርች ቶፒክ መርጣችሁ ማምጣችሁ ስሩ ከማለት የሆነ 5 year 2 year research program so that the outputs could be published jointly with the supervisors. So that if the outputs are published jointly with the supervisors, what it means is that the supervisors will have an incentive to closely support and supervise the student, and the output will also be useful for the development of Ethiopian business law and legal system. እና ይህንን አጠቃላይ እንደ ስኩል ኦፍ ሎው ዲፓርትመንት አስቡበት። ይህን ነው ማለት የምፈልገው። አመሰግናለሁ።
Interesting in that it specifically addresses criminal justice. So far, to the best of my knowledge, we don't have a specific LLM program addressing criminal justice as an autonomous area. So in that respect, I think it brings in important kind of innovation. It's a pioneer in treating criminal justice system and criminal justice in general as an area of specialization. That's, I think, excellent. And it's also designed to embrace so many contemporary issues. As you can look at the content of the courses and the list and the way they are organized, I think that's also excellent. For example, to mention some of them, I liked the fact that victims issue is addressed. So far, I think in terms of law as well as in terms of curriculum content, the issue of victims and the role of victims in the area of criminal justice has been the most ignored aspect. I think that's very important, worth mentioning. Again, to the other contents, I have so many important issues. For example, the emphasis given to the thesis, that's also, I think, should be mentioned. It gets like 30 SATs. Of course, it is a one semester course. Maybe we will see whether that would be enough given the SATs it is attached to it. Again, it also embraces a kind of diversified modes of delivery and assessment. I have counted like some 10 modes of delivery So that's very good, keeping the fact that there could be some issues of feasibility and relevance, which I will raise later on. And course hour is also allocated, I think. In many curriculums in our country, we don't usually put course hour work. In this case, it is included. I think that's important. These are some of the strengths of the curriculum. Now I'll move on to some of the areas which need reconsideration and consolidation. So I'll divide my presentation on three the themes. First, on preliminary and general issues, and second, on the curriculum content, and third, on the delivery and assessment. So on going to the preliminary and general matters, I find program rationale. The developers of the curriculum have tried to indicate program rationales. I think that aspect needs a bit consolidation and work based on needs assessment. Of course, I assume that a needs assessment has been conducted to open up this curriculum, but in the curriculum document that I have received, nothing has been indicated to that effect. So there's a need to include content of the data that's drawn from needs assessment, so that the curriculum is based on some solid basis. Okay, that's one thing. The second point is on nomenclature, program nomenclature. It says that LLM in criminal law and criminal justice. I am of the opinion that the usual kind of obsession, so to say, with the end, wouldn't it better to say simply LLM in criminal justice? Understanding criminal justice to include, broadly, to include criminal law as well. It's possible. I think criminal justice is not just limited to the justice aspect, the institutions that we commonly refer to. It can also embrace aspects of criminal law. So far as my understanding goes, the criminal justice system contains three pillars: the law, the institutions, and the legal culture. The bond which connects the laws with the institutions, the glue which attaches that, the legal culture. So in that respect, I think it would be kind of sexy to simply call it LLM in criminal justice instead of saying criminal law and justice. That's my proposal. You can buy it. Or the other area of comment is admission requirements. Of course, I proposed kind of modest minimum grade requirement, which I couldn't find from the document, but from the presentation I heard from Merit that that's a requirement. I'll leave that. Another point that the admission requirement should consider is affirmative action. Sorry, affirmative action for vulnerable groups of the society, including women, persons with disabilities. I think we should arrange some way of kind of accommodating those issues in terms of admission. So that's maybe the university may have its own policy, so we can consult that. Regulating double benefits, though. Again, general. One of the admission requirements is, okay, thank you very much, is entrance exam. So I think there is a need to give some general information as to the content of the exam. What's the nature of the exam? What are the passing marks, maybe with some flexibility? And how do we select candidates if there are some incompatibility between available space and applicants? Again, one important issue in and maybe it may not be related directly with this, but class size. I think that's very important. We should determine class size because it, in one way or another, implicates on quality. So we need to regulate class size. The other area, general area, is program evaluation and quality assurance. Of course, developers have tried to include some aspects of program evaluation and quality assurance mechanisms, but I think that also needs to be reinforced, basically targeting three major areas: input, process, and output. So this section, I think, needs some reworking to, as I've told you, to adequately address the process. Maybe included in this is maybe class size, modes of delivery and assessment in the process aspect, and in the input aspect you have admission requirements, staff profile, and so on. And the output aspect you have impact assessment, maybe as a mechanism of assessing, evaluating the program. Again, there is a need to specifically indicate that the program will be evaluated within this period of time, say within 3 years or 4 years. So I didn't find that. I suggest that that should be expressly addressed. Program evaluation, every periodic program evaluation, say every 3 years or 4 years maybe. Going to curriculum content, the first point that I want to briefly discuss is course list and naming. The course list is, I think, 14 courses are included, including thesis. Maybe that's my personal view. That's a bit long. Maybe if it is possible, can we cut it down like 10 or so? When I see the experience in many curriculums, I think the course list must be manageable, and we should address the courses in depth. So students should not be congested with number of courses, but we have to be focused and address. This is area of specialization anyways. We should not master everything, and whether it's possible to downsize the number of courses, that should be considered. Maybe courses to merge, courses to omit. We could also think that. In that respect, you have comparative criminal law and sentencing policy and execution. You may think of merging, or procedure and evidence, you may think of merging and focusing on some advanced issues in the area, not simply focusing, not detailing the routines and all those issues that are already covered by undergraduate programs. So we can think of that way. The second point that I have on course listing and naming is the naming of one course, anti-economic crimes. When I see the naming and the content of the course, I observe a kind of mismatch. I like the content, but the course naming didn't describe the content. I like the content should remain as it is, but we should find another name, and I suggest that organized and economic crimes, so that it should not be simply focused on economic crimes, but other non-economic crimes such as human trafficking and so on. Okay, so that's my suggestion. Again, on course naming, we have comparative criminal procedure. It's good to look at procedure in a comparative perspective, but the contents are a bit, I think, simply try to retain the undergraduate content of criminal procedure. The routines, search and seizure, blah, blah, all those steps. I suggest that that course either to be renamed or its content to be revised so that it focuses on advanced issues in criminal procedure. I will mention what those issues are subsequently. And going to the course content, I find criminal justice and human rights. So that's excellent. I like the course, but the contents need some revision to reflect the intersection point between criminal justice and human rights, not but treating the two subjects as separately. Apparently, it seems that human rights issues are treated separately and then criminal justice issues, and there is some connection. So I personally suggest that the course entirely, exclusively focus on the intersection between criminal justice and human rights. And that intersection can be expressed in two ways. One, criminal law promotes human rights. So on those areas, you have criminal law as a tool to protect human rights. That this takes us to criminalization. So aspects of criminalization may be addressed in that course. Two, criminal law is also limited by human rights. So it's about criminal law, I mean human rights informing the criminal process. This takes us to human rights in the criminal process. So the content of the course should address those two general areas, human rights in the criminal process and criminalization and other ways of promoting human rights through criminalization. That's my reflection. Okay. I'm not going to discuss all those content issues, course content issues. I have them written in the written format. I simply select some major ones, okay? The other point is criminal procedure, which I reserved earlier on. So in comparative criminal procedure, we have 7 chapters devoted to the routines of the criminal process, which are already covered by undergraduate course. So I personally advise that should be omitted, and we should focus on advanced issues such as theories and models of criminal procedure, structures of authority in criminal law. Criminal procedure is about defining, allocating authority in the area of criminal law. So constitutional criminal procedure. We should start with constitutional criminal procedure, how those powers of justice actors, how much power are given to justice actors, and what limitation is put on the exercise of that power. So the course should treat criminal procedure at that advanced level to, again, values and goals of modern criminal procedure. You have so many values, goals of criminal procedure, which depend on basically legal cultures, but there are some commonalities, common values that modern criminal procedure pursues. So the course should address that as well. Fundamental principles of criminal procedure, fair trial rights, alternatives to the trial. Nowadays we're heading to looking for alternatives to the trial, such as using customary dispute resolutions, such as using plea bargaining, and so on. So the course should also sufficiently cover. Of course, there is an indication to the effect that plea bargaining is included, but that's not, I think, sufficient. That's the main focus should be on those areas. Disclosure and this matters, this, among others, should be considered. Comparative criminal justice. Comparative criminal justice. Of course, this is also excellent, and I like that course. But the way it's organized needs some touch, in that it should simply focus on thematic areas, not on jurisdictions. There is a tendency of focusing jurisdiction, listing countries, and so we should simply focus on themes. Say, take prosecution, okay? Then how the prosecution is organized, theories and principles of prosecution, prosecutors' roles and mandates in the criminal process, regulation and control of prosecutorial power, the interaction of prosecution with other justice actors, and so on. This is just as an example. And then you will have jurisdictions as a tool for comparison. So it should be organized thematically. The role of other actors, other than the most common ones, including victims and citizens, I think that should be addressed as well. Citizens play very, I think, crucial role in the enforcement of criminal law, but they are the most neglected one. So citizens, the role of citizens. Criminal justice systems may not operate unless citizens initiate it. again, victims. Of course, we do have a separate course for victimology and restorative justice, but as part of comparative exercise, the role of victims and citizens must be addressed in vis-a-vis with other jurisdictions as well. On course content, maybe there is a need to kind of systematize international criminal law. The contents are fine, but systematization. We have the general part discussing introduction principles of international criminal law, and then the substantive part of ICL discussing principles and modes of criminal liability, defenses, and core crimes. And then you have enforcement of ICL, national as well as international enforcement, the criminal process, evidence, and sentencing issues. So the course needs kind of systematic organizers, otherwise the contents are fine. Another area, I think, on course content is overlap. There are some overlaps between courses. I will cite some examples. Comparative criminal law versus sentencing policy and sentencing and penal policy. There is overlap. We need to work out that. Comparative criminal procedure and comparative criminal justice, there are overlaps. Comparative criminal justice and sentencing and penal policy, there are also overlaps. And next is course sequencing and credit hours. And the main, I liked the sequencing, it's excellent, well organized. But I have one comment on only. The place of TJ and international criminal law. I suggest kind of swap between the two. TJ should be given first because it is about general things. And then one of the ways to handle transitional societies is maybe prosecution. So prosecution has to do with ICL. So TJ comes first and then ICL follows. Reference materials, it exclusively relies on books. I don't know why. Okay, I'm on the way. Okay, just 2 minutes. Course delivery and assessment. It's excellent. As I've suggested, we have some 10 delivery methods, but maybe there is a need to tailor them based on the nature of the courses. All methods of delivery may not be applicable for all courses horizontally. So we should kind of tailor. Assessment, there is a tendency to focus on exams. Personally, I don't like exams. And I don't think that they deliver the course objectives, the program objectives. They are, I don't know, maybe other important methods of assessment are there. So the focus on exams should be, when I say it, it's about 60% of the assessment is given to exams. That's too much for a master's program. Master's program is about research, and that's my personal one. I think that's it. Thank you so much for your attention.
Just to keep you abreast with one of the progress in relation to the master's program in criminal justice, we just launched one master's program in criminal justice at Hawassa University in September this year. So ours is going to be the first, I think. Sorry for taking the lead. Yeah. So I think, as you know, these are the major components of any robust curriculum for the master's program. From what I have seen from the draft curriculum that was sent to me, the parts that I have indicated in red were not included. Of course, Murad Ab did mention them during his presentation. I think curriculum is a historical document, so a comprehensive information, as many comprehensive information as possible should be included, including the background or introduction about the school, the university, and the likes. Alamu said need assessment was not included. Of course, I also second that. During presentation, it was mentioned you did conduct need assessment, but I think the details of that should be included in the curriculum as well. So again, I do not waste my 12 minutes or so with applauding and praising your robust and well-prepared curriculum. So in general terms, I endorse what Dr. Alamu has said. The curriculum is well designed and prepared in many aspects, beginning from the selection of the courses, the course breakdown, and so forth. And also, of course, it contains the essential ingredients of the curriculum that I have just mentioned in my first slide. But I think there are some important issues that need to be reconsidered, revised, and of course, some fine-tuning or editorial work is required for this particular curriculum. To begin with, I think introduction or background that you just mentioned during your presentation should be in the curriculum, because it is a historical document and it has to be comprehensive. If you will try to establish partnership with some Western universities in the future, one of the documents that you will use is this particular curriculum. So don't leave out certain very important introductory information. So that should be mentioned, and also, of course, the master's program that the school offers at the moment should be mentioned. In the rational part, I think that part also needs revision to indicate plausible reasons, more compellingly convincing reasons for launching this particular program at this defining moment. The rationales that you have stated, I think, are not enough. You have courses like transitional justice, international criminal law, of course, economic crimes. You have to include those unique courses in justifying the program, okay? Not just the issue of fighting crimes and blah, blah. Of course, as I said, need assessment should be included. The finding of need assessment, among other things, it should indicate: one, potential or actual applicants for this particular program; two, sustainability. Maybe for the coming 2-3 years you will have potential applicants, but is it sustainable? Is that what the need assessment finding indicated? So these things, I think, has to be indicated in the curriculum. Of course, you mentioned it very well in your presentation, but I think it should also be included in the curriculum. Objectives of the program, I think, also needs to be included in the curriculum. And is it in line with the objective vision of the school, the college, university, the country at large? Has to be, I think, indicated in the curriculum, as it is not there at the moment. The other general comment that I want to put forth is in relation to admission requirements. The first thing that you stated is the applicants need to have LLB. I have a reservation in this regard. I believe that a master's program like this should be in a way open to people with relevant qualification or degree, and of course with necessary experiences. People like peace and security studies, people who come from criminology background. So I do not see why we tend to stick to this LLB background. Maybe I stand corrected if there is any enlightenment in this aspect. Of course, Alamu pointed out the entrance exam, the way nature should be stated, because we tend to be abusive. In preparing entrance exams for master's program that I've seen, we tend to focus on conceptual issues instead of motivational comprehension issues. So I think this needs to be clearly determined by the curriculum. What are the natures? One. Two, the weight. Issues of experience. Of course, affirmative action, as Dr. Alamu has pointed out. Duration, my only comment, 4 semesters. I assume for regular master's program, right? Will you have non-regular program? And what will be the duration for this kind should be stated. Does it need customization? This kind of issues, I think, need to be clarified. In relation to resource, 2 things. One, it is good that you indicated the resources that you have, especially the professors. But I was looking at what are their field of specialization. That is how one can know whether they are relevant for this upcoming program or not. So I think it is good to indicate the areas of specialization of those relevant personnel that you have listed in the curriculum. Second, resource-wise, material resource. Of course, teaching materials, classroom and others. What materials do you have in place at the moment? And how are you planning to avail the rest? should be indicated, because this also has something to do with quality assurance. So I think the resource part should not focus just on the professors, the personal aspect. It should also clearly indicate what resources do you have in place already and how you are, or the school is planning to avail. Grading policy and system, it was not in the curriculum. I think we have mentioned it during your presentation, so it's good to include the harmonized grading policy and system. In relation to graduation requirement, I have just one comment. You said a student who has cumulative GPA of 3 points will be eligible for graduation. How many Cs? 2, 1? Or as long as the cumulative GPA is 3 points, it doesn't matter. If there is a gap in the rules of the university, in my opinion, the maximum number of C score that a graduate student should get should not be more than one, yes. So even if the cumulative GPA is 3, he or she should not graduate if she has more than 1 C. I think that should be clearly regulated in the curriculum. Of course, if the rules of the university has blind spots in this regard. In relation to quality assurance, I want to second what Dr. Alamu has already highlighted, but I want to mention 2 things. You need to differentiate quality assurance and program evaluation. Program evaluation is a totally different story. Quality assurance is from the get-go to the end. Preparation of robust curriculum, resources, the professors that you will avail, the material resources, the class size that Dr. Alamu has highlighted, and those things. So these are quality assurance mechanisms. And the program evaluation is a different story. In relation to program evaluation, 2 things are important. 1, how do you evaluate the program to maintain and improve the quality? Of course, student feedback from the professors, and also impact assessment. 2, when will this curriculum be reviewed? The last part that you see asks, how will you evaluate your program? I think that should be clearly stated as there are gaps in the regulations of many universities. Of course, the courses are these ones, and you have indicated during your presentations. I just wanted to focus on 3 things in relation to the course. 1, naming. 2, coding. 3, selection. In relation to course selection, what are the selection criteria that you have applied? Are they in line with the goals, objectives, graduate profile, exit level outcomes? I think these are what we have to ask in selecting courses. Do they help us to produce students who have advanced knowledge and a skill in criminal law and justice? Having said that, let me say a few words on the course coding. There is nothing on the course coding mechanisms. Why did you use CLG followed by 4 digits? Is it required by the rules of the university? What are the 4 digits for? What are the values represented by those 4 digits? I think that needs to be explained. What I normally know is you use 3 digits. The first one indicates, of course, the year. The middle one doesn't indicate, well, the third one indicates the semester. So now you have used CLG in the 2 cases. In the cluster courses, CLF followed by 4 digits, okay? Except the legal research and the thesis, because they are cluster courses, as you call them, you used CLG followed by 4 digits. So you need to explain your coding mechanisms. What does the rule of civil service university say in this regard? I think that needs to be explained. Of course, 6 makes sense because, of course, undergraduate program takes 5 years. So you can start from 6, but you need to justify that. You need to explain what the letters are for and what the digits are for. In relation to the letters, my knowledge is the letters should represent the schools, the institute that offers the program. So is CLG, which is for criminal law and justice, the one which offers this program? So I think caution is required in that regard. In any way, explanation is necessary. Course selection and the naming. I have few comments on course selection. Of course, you have included 14 courses. There are too many. One should think of merging some courses, but let me say a few words on the course selection and naming. There is a clear omission of international humanitarian law, juvenile criminal justice. Of course, you made an attempt to address the issue of juvenile delinquency and justice in the other courses. But I think the sections that you have included in the other courses do not do justice to this concept of juvenile delinquency and the criminal justice. So I recommend the inclusion of juvenile criminal justice as a course. 2, international humanitarian law as a course. And the renaming of the following courses. 1, comparative criminal justice system, both in its naming and the content omits policy aspect, which is as important as the functionaries. So I think the policy aspect should be included in the criminal justice system. We should not just focus on functionaries of criminal justice system at the expense of ignoring the policy. So I think it should be renamed as comparative criminal justice system and the policy. Forgive me for that. The other course, research seminar on contemporary issues in criminal law and justice. I think this is very long for a name of a course. So I understand why you included the term research. It indicates the focus, but it is suffice to call it as seminar on contemporary issues on criminal justice. So I think it should be renamed like that. Second, victimology and restorative justice. I suggest that the naming should be as restorative justice. I will come to my comment if I have time. Also reconsider naming of sentencing, execution and the policy. Issues of sequencing, delivery. The delivery of the following course. 1, comparative criminal law. 2, comparative criminal justice and system. 3, transitional justice should be reconsidered, and I will come to that shortly again. The other point in relation to this issue is issues of allotment of credit hours, as you call them, ECTS, and course coverage. I think comparative criminal justice system should not carry more than 6 ECTS. You gave it 8, the content doesn't mirror the ECTS that you have allotted to this particular course. Transitional justice, you gave it 6. Apologies. So I think it is advisable to increase the ECTS of TJ to 8 because of its content. I'm not just saying for the sake of increasing the number, but the content and the coverage of the course demands a high ECTS. Victimology and restorative justice from 5 to 6. Seminar on contemporary issues in criminal justice. I understand this is a cluster course, and I don't know why the ECTS is 7. There is nothing new that are going to address in a way in this seminar. It is just keeping students abreast with the progress in relation to criminal justice system. So I personally do not believe that it takes 7 ECTS. So my comments on the courses are on these 4 or 5 issues: sequencing, description, assessment, chapterization, reference materials. I focus on these issues when I talk about the courses that you have included. In relation to the assessment, Alamu put it very well. It seems you have adopted uniform assessment methods throughout. Group assignment out of 20, mid-exam 20, and then another assignment out of 20, then final out of 40%. So it looks like a typical undergraduate course assessment methods. So I suggest 40% should be given to individual essay. I want to differentiate, as they call it, Galabaon Menu. So individual assignment, which is called essay, proper term, paper, should carry 40%, including presentation. 40% final, group assignment 20. For research methodology, I have a different suggestion. general comment on the advanced legal research methodology part. The only thing that you did not properly indicate is how advanced is this course. What makes it advanced, as mentioned by the first presenter on the other curriculum? That I think should be clearly indicated. Otherwise, I think it's well designed. In relation to assessment, final exam out of 40. I do not understand how you assess research methodology out of 40% for final exam. It is not best suited for this kind of course. I think the final exam should carry less marks unless it is required by the rule of the university. General comment on the reference materials for all the courses. I think it should be reorganized in terms of structure. Two, most up-to-date materials, especially on transitional justice, I will come to that, should be included. Otherwise, most of the reference materials are, I think, comprehensive. Comparative criminal justice system, as I said, it needs renaming to include the policy aspect. In terms of sequencing, as it is, you decided to offer it in year 1, semester 1, right? I suggest this should be offered in year 1, semester 2. Comparative criminal law should come first, for obvious reasons. The content chapterization, I don't want to dwell on this very much. The focus of this course should be on the functionaries of criminal justice system. There are some chapters which focus on substantive criminal law issues. This course is not about substantive procedural criminal law issues. The issue is about functionaries of criminal justice system. The other thing is in the introductory chapter, the concept of features, goals, functional areas, values of comparative criminal justice systems should be highlighted, I think. And also, there is an important debate in relation to criminal justice systems on how to balance the competing objectives and the function of criminal justice systems. Functional relationship of different criminal justice systems. Police so afsosiamata qabe gulay sara እየጫነ ነው ፊድ ይደራረጋሉ የሚለው ኮንሰፕት እንዴት ነው ባላንስ የምናደርገው ትልቅ ዲቤት ነው። አይ ቲንክ እሱ መጀመሪያ ቻፕተር ላይ ሊካተት ይገባዋል የሚል እምነት አለ። In relation to the other course, human rights and criminal justice, I want to say a few things that Dr. Alamu has already mentioned again. The focus of this course should be on the interplay between human rights and the criminal justice. There are some chapters which focus on general human rights issues. I think this is not necessary. What I suggest is include issues like human rights as limitations on criminal law. Include issues like punishment versus human rights. In addition to what Dr. Alamu has already mentioned, these issues should be mentioned instead of focusing on the general human rights issues. The discussions in this part must have direct relevance to criminal justice. Comparative criminal law, the one comment that I want to add is, one, sequencing, it should be offered during semester 1, year 1, before comparative criminal justice system. Also, some chapters needs to be restructured. Otherwise, I think the content is generally okay. But there are also some chapters which are not supposed to be included under this particular course. For instance, chapter 4, constitutional limits on substantive criminal law. This better fits the course human rights and the criminal justice. So I think there are some fine-tune that you need to do. And also, of course, I think it's good to include the last issues that I mentioned: inchoate crimes, parole, pardon, and amnesty. ICL, one comment. One, I think it is good to include regionalization of international criminal law. As African, well, I expect most of the students are from Africa, if not from Ethiopia. The issue of regionalization of international criminal law, just like regionalization of human rights, needs to be the main focus of this particular course. Is it necessary to regionalize international criminal law in African context? What is the future of African criminal courts? This kind of issues, I think, need to be included in the chapter outline of this particular course. In relation to economic crime, again, in relation to sequencing of course offering, I suggest this course should be offered in semester 1, year 2. Instead of this course, you should bring TJ from year 2, semester 1 to year 1, semester 2. So I think international criminal law and transitional justice should be offered together because they are complementary. My worry in relation to this course is you included about 7 independent crimes, which can be a separate and independent courses on their own. So is it possible to cover all these crimes? So what I suggest is, it is important and imperative to focus on some relevant crimes. Corruption, money laundering, illicit financial flows can be addressed under money laundering. So I think it's not necessary to give it its own chapter. So cybercrime and human trafficking. I think the focus of this particular course should be on these 4 crimes. Otherwise, you put too much on the plate of this particular course and it's difficult to do justice to the crimes. So I think there is a need to reconsider the categories of crimes that we have included. In relation to the point that Dr. Alamu highlighted, I think the concept organized crimes is misnomers. It is misleading. Okay, so I would suggest to maintain this particular naming, but I think it's up to the drafters to decide. Yeah, transitional justice. I think this is one of the courses where you did not include detailed, not detailed, but sufficient course breakdown. I think the course breakdown for this particular course is very scanty. I suggested that the following issues should be included, especially the issue of transitional justice in the African context and also place of transitional justice in Ethiopia. This issue has become a hot potato now in the Ethiopian context. So we cannot really leave out the issue of transitional justice and its place in the Ethiopian criminal justice system. So I think you need to reconsider and revise the content of this particular course. In relation to reference, most up-to-date materials on TJ should be included. I have suggested some and I think I will give you these comments and you can take note of them. Like volumes by Chris, which is one of the textbook on transitional justice. Of course, Huntington's book on transitional justice, the third wave of democratization, I think needs to be included. As well, relevant books on transitional justice in Ethiopia. We tend to ignore the Ethiopian aspect in many of these international courses. So I think the Ethiopian aspect should not be in a way ignored. This course, I have a problem with its naming, with its content. It has overlaps, as Dr. Alamu also mentioned, with other courses. For instance, it talks about theories of punishment. This is not the issue that should be covered by this course. Theories of punishment should be under comparative criminal law. It talks about police, which is already addressed by criminal justice course. So I think this course needs thorough revision, both in terms of its content, naming, and others. I suggest that if you decide to keep this course as a separate course, the focus should be on issues of sentencing, sentencing process, sentencing determination, sentencing tariff, extradition, and other issues that has to do with sentencing and execution, not substantive criminal law and the procedural issues per se. Victimology. One of the wrong impressions that this naming gives is, it seems the course is about the intersection between victimology and the restorative justice, when in fact it's not about that. So I think the issue of victimology can be addressed without putting the name in the naming of the course. So you can call it restorative justice, and the issue of victimology can still be addressed under this course and also under the course comparative criminal justice system. Also, the chapterization, the content of this course needs, I think, a serious revision. It doesn't really talk about definition, features, values, goals of restorative justice. Models and component of restorative justice should be included. Of course, the issue of restorative justice as an alternative, complementary, or as a main means in criminal process. That needs to be included in the course content to give it a focus and emphasis. Of course, the issue of restorative justice in Ethiopia should be also included, and reference materials, I think, need to be updated. There are many books on this, even in Ethiopian context. A book entitled Grassroots Justice, I think, is not included in the list. It is good to include this kind of books. The other is, again, on the seminar part, I'm almost done, just give me 1 minute, please. On the last part, then the renaming should be reconsidered, and I suggest that seminar on contemporary issues in criminal justice is suffice. It is good also to indicate certain thematic areas. It seems now the students are left in limbo in relation to the scope of this course is concerned. What is mentioned is just criminal law and justice. I think it is good to include thematic areas for this particular course where the professor will focus in giving the seminar. In relation to thesis, 2 things. 1, the students will also register for this particular module in year 2, semester 1, right? Will it be graded during that? How will the defense procedure of the proposal be handled? What are the rules? Maybe it's addressed by the rules of the university, but you can indicate that. And 2, the marks that you have indicated are 95%. So there is some arithmetic error that needs to be addressed. In addition to that, the evaluation criteria just indicate content out of 70. But what are the particular criteria and the weight that each criterion carries should be stated? Not just stating content is out of 70, but each criteria under the content should have specific marks. 2, 3 individuals are involved in evaluating the thesis. What are the marks that these individuals will give? I think those issues should be clearly stated in the curriculum as well. I think I took much time. Thank you for your attention.
And the first comment is on the issues of the specific modules. You have said you are going to see the organized crimes under international criminal law. International criminal law and organized crimes are totally different. There is no even linkage between the two. So either you have to separate the international criminal law because international criminal law is totally focused on the ICC, but the transnational organized crimes are different types of crimes that should be separated.
Just in the interest of time, the 2 courses are separate.
Yeah.
Information.
No, he has presented. We will see human trafficking, organized crimes, and others. So my comment is that they are not the same. Now I can give you the specific references on these issues later on. The second one is, you have said law of evidence. I think evidence and forensic science. I don't think there is linkage between the two. Even though evidence law feeds for the forensic science and forensic science the same, I think you have to separate them, or you have to address forensic science and evidence within the same module. For example, I can tell you the experience of we have first degree as well as second degree in crime investigation. Forensic science, we have forensic science department, that's undergraduate, and we have introduction to forensic science for the first degree, and for the second degree we have advanced forensic science, because the second one is underway. So you have to separate them. In the case of organized crime and economic crimes, we have separate economic crime, organized crimes. They are the same because their motive is the same. That is economic or anything which have high value. That is more of financial or economic value. So it would be better if you say it's economic crime laws without the international. The international economy is different and the economic laws are different. And I never seen even the issues of terrorism. We are going to address the issues of terrorism. The sequence mostly economic crime, even on the sequence. It is area of specialization. So instead of putting in the first year, it would be better if it is at the end of the second year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commercial dispute settlement የሚል አንድ ኮርስ አይቻለሁ። ይሄ ኮርስ እኔ አርቢትሬሽን ላይ ፎከስ ያደረግና አርቢትሬሽን የሚል ኮርስ ቢሆን መልካም ነው የሚመስለኝ። ምክንያቱም አብዛኞቹ ኮርሶች ኮሜርሻል ሎ ላይ ወይንም ቢዝነስ ሎ ላይ ዲስፒዩት ነው ኦብቪየስሊ የዲስፒዩት ኢሹ ነው የሚሆነው እና ከዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት ጋር የተያያዘ ሰፋ ያለ ኤምፋሲስ የሚያስፈልገው ነገር ይመስለኛል። እና አንደኛ ኮሜርሻል ዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት ያልነው በጣም ጀነራል ነው። ራሱ እንደ አንድ ማስተርስ ኮርስ የሚሰጥ ነው። ዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት ሜዲዬሽንም ኔጎሽዬሽንንም አርቢትሬሽንንም የሚይዝ ነው እና በጣም ሰፊ ነው። ጠበብ አድርገን አርቢትሬሽንን ብንጨምርበት አርቢትሬሽን ለብቻው ቢሆን፣ ምክንያቱም አሁን በተግባር ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥም አርቢትሬሽን በጣም እየተለመደ መጥቷል። የአርቢትሬሽን ሎ እየተዘጋጀ ነው ያለው። ኒውዮርክ ኮንቬንሽን ኦን ሬኮግኒሽን ኤንድ ኢንፎርስመንት ኦፍ አርቢትራል አዋርድስ ነው። እሱንም ኢትዮጵያ ራቲፋይ ለማድረግ ጥረት እያደረገች ነው ያለችው እና ኮሜርሻል አርቢትሬሽን ሎ አርቢትሬሽን ዲስፒዩትን ሴትል እንደ ዋነኛ አማራጭ ከሶስቱም ከሌሎቹ ዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት ውስጥ አርቢትሬሽን ነው በጣም እየተለመደ የመጣው እና ይህንን ማናስተምር ከሆነ የተሟላ የሚሆን አይመስለኝም። የኮምፓራቲቭ ቢዝነስ ሎ ያላችሁት ኮርስ የተሟላ ነገር አይኖረውም። ሁለተኛ ደግሞ ፕራክቲካሊ ያለውንም ችግር መዳሰስ የምንችለው በእንደዚህ አይነት ኮርሶች ይመስለኛል። አብዛኞቹ ኮርሶች ቴዎሬቲካል ነገር ነው ያላቸው፣ ወደ 16 ምናምን ኮርሶች አሉ። ስለዚህ የዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት አርቢትሬሽንን እንደ ተጨማሪ እንደ ሁለተኛ ኮርስ የምንጨምረው ከሆነ ዲስፒዩት ሴትልመንት እንዳለ ሆኖ ወይንም ሙሉ ለሙሉ በአርቢትሬሽን የሚተካ ከሆነ ፕራክቲካሊ ያሉትን ችግሮችንም መዳሰስ የምንችል ይመስለኛል። ሌላው ኮርሶቹም በጣም ብዙ ናቸው። እኔ አሁን አርቢትሬሽን የሚል ዩኒክ የሆነ ኮርስ ይጨመር እያልኩ ነው፣ ግን ሲጀመርም በጣም ብዙ ኮርሶች ነው ያሉት፣ ወደ 16 ኮርስ። የማስተርስ ፕሮግራም ሳይሆን የአንደርግራጁዌት ፕሮግራምም ነው የሚመስለው። በጣም ስፔሻላይዝ ነው መደረግ ያለበት። እንደ ማለትም ኮርሶቹ በዛ ብለው ወይንም በኦፕሽናል እንትን ተማሪዎቹ መርጠው የሚማሩት ወደ ቅድም 10 ኮርሶች ክሪሚናል ጀስቲስ ላይ ወደ 10 ኮርሶች ጠበብ በሚል ተነስቶ ነበር። ይሄኛውም ወደዛ ዝቅ የሚል እኔ አሁን ኮሜርሻል ኤንድ ኮርፖሬት ሎ የሚል ትምህርት ተምሬያለሁ እንግሊዝ ሀገር። ብዙ አማራጮች አሉ። የተማርነው ግን 6 ኮርስ ነው እና እንደዚህ ማጥበብ ማንችል ከሆነ ነካ ተደርጎ ነው የሚታለፈው እና ኮርሶቹ በጣም በዝተዋል። መጥበብ የሚችል ከሆነ እኔ ፔዳጎጂ ላይ ወይም ካሪኩለም ላይ ባለሙያ አይደለሁም፣ ግን በጣም እንዲህ የበዙ ከሆነ በአግባቡ አድሬስ ሳናደርጋቸው ነው የምናልፈው። ሌላው ማንሳት የምፈልገው ነገር ከኮንፍሊክት ኦፍ ሩልስ ጋር በተያያዘ ምንም ኮርስ አላየሁም። አሁን ኮምፓራቲቭ ኮሜርሻል ቢዝነስ ሎ የሚለው እንትን ላይ እሱም ሌላኛው ኢሹ ነው። ኢትዮጵያ ኮንፍሊክት ኦፍ ሎ ሪጅም የላትም። ኮሜርሻል ኮንፍሊክት ኦፍ ሎስ የሚል ኮርስ አስታውሳለሁ፣ እኔ አልወሰድኩትም። ያን ነገር ኮንሲደር የምታደርጉት ከሆነ መልካም ይመስለኛል። ከኮንፍሊክት ኦፍ ሩልስ ጋር በተያያዘ ምንም ነገር ስላላየው ነው። ሌላው ካምፓኒ አንድ ኮርስ አለ፣ ካምፓኒ የኮምፓራቲቭ ካምፓኒ ሎ የሚል አይቻለሁ እና ኮርሱን እንትን ስፔሲፊክ ኮርሱን እንትን ሲል ከካምፓኒ ገቨርናንስ ጋር በተያያዘ ኢሹዎቹ በብዛት ካምፓኒ ገቨርናንስ ይመስለኛል። ግን ፋውንዴሽናል ኢሹዎቹን ሳናይ ቀጥታ ወደ ካምፓኒ ገቨርናንስ የምንሄድ ከሆነ አስቸጋሪ ነው የሚሆነው። ስለ ኮርፖሬት ፐርሶናሊቲ፣ ሊሚትድ ሊያቢሊቲ፣ ሌሎችም የፋውንዴሽናል ኢሹዎቹን በደንብ ማስተማር የሚያስፈልግ ይመስለኛል። ለኮሜርሻል ዋናው የኮርሱ ዓላማ ኮሜርሻል ወይም ቢዝነስ ሎየርን የማፍራት ስለሆነ ለኮሜርሻል ሎየር ደግሞ የሚያስፈልገው ከካምፓኒ ሎ አንጻር ፋውንዴሽናል ኢሹዎቹ ናቸው። ቢታሰብበት መልካም ይመስለኛል። አመሰግናለሁ።
የሚቀረን መተግበር ነው ይላል ብዙዎቹ ሰዎች ሲገቡ I think it's better include the attitudinal aspect and skill aspects as well, in terms of course content assessment and so on, so that it would be possible to translate the knowledge, skill, and attitudes. እሱ ቢሆን ሌላው ምናልባት የግል ጥራት ነው። አድቫንስድ ክሪሚኖሎጂ የሚባሉ አንዳንድ ኮርሶች ይኖራሉ። የምር እውነተኛ ትክክለኛ መምህር እናገኝበት ይሆን የሚለው ባናገኝስ ምን ይሆናል? አይዶን ነው መልሱ። ባናገኝ ኮርሱ መምጣት የለበትም አለበት። አንዳንድ ጊዜ አስቸጋሪ ሊሆን ይችላል። እንደ አንዳንዶቹ ምንድነው በእድሜ ጠገብ የሆኑ ትምህርት ቤቶች ሳንማር እንዳናስተምር ጥንቃቄ ማድረግ ያለብን ይመስለኛል። ሌላው አድቫንስድ ሪሰርች በተለይ ክሪሚናል ሎ ኤንድ ጀስቲስ ላይ ቻፕተር 2 ሞር ወደዛ ስፔሲፊክ መሆን እንዳለበት ተቀምጧል። እሱ አሪፍ ነው፣ ግን ኮንቴንቱ ቢታይ የኢቮሉሽን ኦፍ ክሪሚናል ሎ ምናምን ሳይሆን መሆን ያለበት ኢን ማይ ኦፒኒየን ኢት ሹድ ፎከስ ኦን ስፔሻል ሪሰርች ሜተድ ኦን criminology, like most likely, I think it focuses on sociology, and so it differs from some other legal research. So I think it is better to revisit it. Coming to investment law, I think investment law is one of the important key instruments to bring about development in general and sustainable development in particular. So the content of this investment law should also be considered, particularly from the sustainable development law. Again, coming to international economic, monetary, and development law, I think, in my opinion, the issue of development law in general is not given due attention. It is not sufficiently covered. Coming to evidence law and forensic science, I think Tansai has already mentioned it, but it is better to consider this forensic science from the law of evidence point of view, so that it would be possible to integrate the law of evidence and forensic science. forensic science common course ላይ ወሰዱትን የመድገም ሌላው ጥቅል የሆነ I think what makes those generally those curriculum advanced is considering the theories, the jurisprudence. So ከዛ point of view ይታይ ቅድም አንድ ተናጋሪ ያነሳዋል። ሌላው ምናልባት ኮመን ኮርስ እንበለው ወይም ደግሞ ይሄ ጀነራል ኮርስ እንበለው በዩኒቨርሲቲ ደረጃ የሚሰጡ ምናልባት እነኚህም ኮርሶች ላይ መጨመር አለባቸው የሚባሉ ኮርሶችስ ይኖሩ ይሆን? ለዛ ቼክ ማድረግ አስፈላጊ ይሆናል ብዬ አስባለሁ። አመሰግናለሁ።
Works of management initially. In fact, both of the curriculums they are robust and well organized and easy. However, I want to have this chance in order to address some of the issues that are raised from the reviewers as well as from that of the audience. The first one, which I want to address, relates to the number of courses. The number of courses, most of you guys have heard that you believe that the courses are too many. However, for me, the courses are not too many because we can see the experiences in other universities as well as in foreign territories or institutions. But in this regard, we can see the experience of at some university, for instance, the coursework goes only for 2 semesters. And in each semester, they offer 5 courses. Right? That means there are 10 courses for 2 semesters. Whereas, when you come to the Ethiopian Civil Service University, the coursework goes for 3 semesters. And then these 3 semesters, we offer only 17 courses. So, what we should understand in the first place, that I believe in, is that the course work and the credit that the university allocates for giving work or course work is different from that of other universities. For instance, in European territories, they will offer 6 courses in a year, and these 6 courses are given together with that research, isn't it? So, you may offer only 6 courses in a year, but not in a year and a half. The overall program stretches for 2 years, and 1 year and a half is allocated for coursework. So I need you guys to understand this in the first place. That's why I'm raising this as an issue. Plus, these courses are very essential in order to master the area within 2 years, and we are not overloading students when you see it from the perspective of specialization. The second thing that I want to address is related to the business law. The first one is with respect to the comparative company. When I have heard a friend or one among the audience expressing the contents of comparative company law, and one of his remarks was that comparative company law should focus on formational. Well, if you see the contents of comparative company law, it begins with theories of company law, then it follows, and in chapter 2, it sees formation in comparative perspective. Formation of companies in common law legal system, civil law legal system, socialist or the socialist legal system, as well as ethical legal system is addressed. Starting from formation to the selling of equities is addressed in the overall curriculum. Therefore, when the issue of formation, I need to say that the issue of formation and other practical issues are addressed in the course. The third one relates to the commercial dispute settlement. When some professionals they suggest us to have arbitration or advanced arbitration rather than the commercial dispute settlement. We opt for commercial dispute settlement because in the first place we need to give a highlight, an advanced highlight for professionals with respect to the commercial dispute settlement. Whereas the overall program or the overall course, its focus is arbitration rather than the mediation and other modes of dispute settlement such as court settlement. Therefore, the fact that arbitration could be neglected in the overall course structure, there should be no worry for all of us. This is what I want to say. Thank you very much.